A very good evening and welcome to round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. I'm Giles Cosgrove, she's Jess Ball, and he is James Montgomery, and we will be with you until well into the early evening. In fact, it's early evening now. We'll be well into the evening by the time we finish with one of the most exciting rounds that we have got on the calendar this year. Tonight on Formula Student, Monty airs his dirty laundry, Jess has got new glasses, and our friend James is going to try and predict the virtual weather. That is all to come. I should point out that Monty's racing suit is behind him, hung up on the door, and Jess does genuinely have new glasses. But
it's
coming
also
up
not
tonight,
dirty. It's clean, thank you. I've just washed it.
Oh, there you go then. See, airs his clean laundry because
Thank you.
He's not a dirty man in the slightest. Right. Anyway, Giles Cosgrove, Jess Ball, and Monty with you until well after 9 o'clock with a fantastic event. We've got endurance coming up tonight on the Sim Racing. We're going to Mugello with the GT4s. Teams have had a selection of GT4 cars that they can choose from, and the grid is made up predominantly of BMWs and McLarens, with the odd Chevy thrown in for good measure. The conditions are unknown. The temperature, unknown. The time, unknown. Teams don't know what they're going to be up against, and it's not the usual 25-minute races this evening. We've got full hour-long races. Essentially, what we're going to have is we're going to have one race. We're then going to do the FS News, and then we're going to have the second race. The second race's grid lineup is determined by the finishing results of the first grid when it came to the conclusion of that race. So, as a result, you've essentially got a 2-hour endurance with a driver swap in the middle. We're really excited for this. It's something we haven't done before on the Sim Racing, and it's going to be a real challenge for the teams tonight. In terms of how we've got to this point, let's look back on the previous rounds. We kicked off at Croft Circuit with round 1, and then we were down to Charlotte Speedway for round 2. We then went to Watkins Glen International for round 3 before the notorious Sydney Motorsport Park for round 4. Last time out, we were at Imola, and tonight we are at Mugello. Very much excited for that. You can see various different teams coming in the top 3 across all of the rounds so far. It's been incredibly interchangeable. There's not been a great deal of consistency until potentially the last couple of rounds, which means it is all to play for. Let's see how much it is all to play for with the standings at the end of round 5. And as you can see, Southampton are tied with Queen Mary University with 511 points. The University of Southampton are there in first because Monty can explain why.
Count back. Southampton have won a race. Queen Mary have not yet.
Which is really, really outstanding for Queen Mary to be in second place, tied for points with the first place team, having not actually won a race. That's massively impressive. Not too far behind, but down in third are University of Glasgow's A team, who have been coming into their own with a new set of students making the lineup of their sim racing team. So congratulations to them. It's taken them a couple of rounds to get their feet through the door, get to grips with the dynamics of the sim racing series, but they've clearly done it. They are only 3 points ahead of University College Dublin, who are in fourth, with York A having had the comeback of the century with the addition of Dylan Warren to their driver lineup, making all the difference. They're sat there in fifth with 427 points. University of Vigo in sixth. Hull's A team are in seventh. Bolton are in eighth. Queen University Belfast are in ninth. And Hertfordshire's A team are in 10th.
And if I can just add on to that, Giles, I have to say you're spot on there. It's been such a topsy-turvy season. We've had so many different top 3s. We've had 4 different winners from 5 rounds so far. And mathematically speaking, I would say the top 7 are still all in with a realistic chance of winning this championship. Because remember, it's 100 points for a win. We have a drop score to consider. So there's 200 points left to go. There's 100 tonight, 100 at the finals. You've got a drop round, and I think that's really going to come into the play for University of York, because that means basically a drop score is when you remove the points from your poorest race of the season. So actually, if you've had a really bad race and only scored 20 points in that round, well, you're only subtracting 20 points from your total. But if you've been really consistent, race in, race out, always in the top 4, that means you've got more points to lose. So for teams like Southampton and Queen Mary, who have consistently been in the top 5 all throughout the season, they've got more points to drop next round. And so that could suddenly spring York, Vigo and Hull into this. And don't forget, there's 50 points as well for each engineering challenge left to go. We're about to announce the winners of Challenge 4 tonight. And then there's a 5th and final challenge. So there's actually 250 points still for the universities to score. I really haven't got a clue who's going to win this.
I wouldn't like to make a prediction, and I know for a fact that the teams don't like it when us lot in the commentary box do make predictions, because we have made some interesting choices and then it seems to go wrong for the teams involved. It has been referred to as the commentator's curse. Someone who has cursed a few teams herself is Jess. Would you dare to make a guess as to who's going to win the series this year, Jess?
Well, I remember making my prediction at the end of round 1, and people thought I was crazy, but I'm still going to stick by it because I don't want to change my prediction. I predicted at the end of race 1, Queen Mary is going to take the title. So I'm not that far off.
You're definitely not. They are more than within a shout of winning, and they're a wonderful team as well. So very much looking forward to seeing what they can do out of the gate for what is definitely shaping up to be one of the more unique rounds we put on for the sim racing. As we've said, we'll hit the track at 6:30, so do stick around for that. Jess is our sim racing expert. Let's take a look at the course we're racing on tonight. We're racing on Mugello, which is over in Italy. It's an incredibly curvy circuit. How does that play into the driver's skill base? What is that like to drive for those teams tonight?
This circuit is actually designed for motorcycles, so a lot of rounds in MotoGP are raced there, and it kind of is similar to if you are into Formula One circuits like Qatar as well, where it's nice and flowy. It requires much downforce as well, and also it's high speed, nice flowing corners. And the drivers require, I think, quite a lot of skill because they're quite fast the majority of the time as well, which means we could see some apexes which are blind and it'll be hard for the drivers to see. And the drivers have been warned tonight not to flash the lights too much, but if they feel like that they might be getting held too much by back markers, then they could just let them out of the way and stuff like that. But it's not been used very much, to be honest. It's only been used for MotoGP and also, of course, Formula One. Remember COVID? Yeah, 5 years ago when there wasn't many tracks available on the F1 calendar, and Mugello came to the fold, and I think we saw Daniel Ricciardo take a podium. So there we go. That is what the drivers have in store tonight. But downforce is the key here tonight, and with the GT4s, they also got to think about the type of fuel, the fuel they're going to have in the car as well. So yeah, here we go.
I'm going to correct you on the F1, Jess. It wasn't Daniel Ricciardo. It was Alex Albon. He got his first.
Oh, it was Alex Albon.
He got his first ever podium here.
Yeah, it was first ever podium. And the drivers also got to think about the strategy, because it's not about a 25-minute race. It's a 1-hour race, so they might need to make multiple stops. So which drivers will have the benefit of choosing the right strategy? Because it's not just about the racing side of things, it's also about the engineering and the strategy side of things, which the students will get to do if they end up being hired by a real motorsport team in the industry.
So this is the thing. The weather looks to be quite interchangeable. And as you were saying, Jess, this is something I've been most excited about this evening, is that because we've got extended races for both race 1 and race 2, we are going to definitely see at least one pit stop. Chances are possibly more. And that strategy is going to be key to the team's success. That plays into what we're doing on the sim racing, which is training the next generation of engineers, whether that's in automotive design or whether that's in motorsport, who will then go forth into teams having had some experience that is only available thanks to sim racing, because otherwise a lot of doors are closed. These doors are open virtually, admittedly, but still virtually, thanks to sim racing. And to tie it in with the sim racing series, feels like a good idea. Monty, what was the thinking tonight as the event captain behind doing these endurance races for round 6?
I'm going to have to give credit here to the admin team, because it's them who came up with this idea. They wanted to try something different. A lot of the feedback we've had from the competitors so far is that, yeah, the 25-minute races are fun, but can we do something different, please? Now, obviously, one of the biggest limitations we have is we're on Assetto Corsa. Now, other software, iRacing, etc., they have the capability, they have the function to be able to do 24-hour races because they have built-in systems where you can do driver swaps and stuff like that. Assetto Corsa does not have that, and that's kind of been one of the biggest limitations we've had. One of the things we've loved about Assetto Corsa, many mods. It's the right price for the student. There's so many mods. There's a huge community behind it. You can get really, really creative with your combination of cars and tracks. But trying to get creative with the formats have been very difficult because it's all sprints basically done on a set of courses.
Yes.
But we really wanted to get an endurance race in here. And so they did a fantastic job in thinking outside the box and saying, well, we can't do a 2-hour race with a driver swap in it. So instead, let's go for 1 hour. Let's add in the tyre and the fuel dynamics into this. At the end of that hour, let's bring them all in, swap the drivers, and then we'll carry on from there. So just reset the grids as they had finished the first race and carry on. That was the closest we could get to being able to get an endurance race, give the students something different to think about. So rather than just sprinting for the finish line, they've got to think about their fuel, they've got to think about their tyres. And just to be really annoying, we've included a 12 times multiplier to the times. So you're going to see that day to night shift is going to go by very quick. So we're going to see a day and a night shift during both races.
Oh, fantastic.
And because why not? Let's throw weather in there as well. So even a foolproof plan of what this 1 hour race should look like in the dry. Oh, is that a bit of rain?
Not like you to be annoying at all, is it, Monty? No. Anastasia's in the chat. She's commenting there. Nice to have you on board, Anastasia. If you are watching us live, let us know where you're watching from and who you are supporting. After all, this is an international event, and we are very, very grateful to have you on board. We're here until well past 9 o'clock. What better way to spend a bank holiday? And you can see on screen now, that is the state of the track as things stand. Qualifying has already taken place. We will be lining up on the grid to talk you through that right about now.
There we are.
So let's take you through the grid lineup. Can we do that, Monty?
Yeah, let's do the grids first. I was going to see what work we had on my car for this round, but we'll do that afterwards. So let's see what our grid looks like first, Giles.
And we're kicking off with York A in pole position with Dylan Warren behind the wheel. An unexpected addition to the driver lineup. We weren't expecting to have Dylan racing in this round, but he's here and he's a force to be reckoned with. But that's not put off Queen Mary, who have out-qualified their championship rivals at the top, Southampton, putting them in second place. Top Hat Tyler is there in third for Hull's A team, with University College Dublin in fourth. Meanwhile, in fifth, it's University of Glasgow's A team, and Aaron Farmer is sat behind the wheel for Cardiff in sixth position in the red and green of the Welsh Dragon. Vigo are in seventh with De Montfort in eighth. They've got a rolling chassis, we're reliably informed, for their car headed to Silverstone. Very exciting stuff for them. It'll be nice to have Sabrina on track. Meanwhile, Bolton are in ninth. And following them, they are in first position at the moment in the championship, but they're all the way back down in 10th on the grid. It's Southampton in 10th. In 11th, it's the A team of the University of Hertfordshire, with University of Leicester down in 12th in their iconic orange. Queen's University Belfast are there in 13th. Luck of the Irish, could be lucky for them as well in 13th. Meanwhile, in 14th, it's Strathclyde. We're looking forward to seeing from them in the Formula Student News later on. Meanwhile, Harriet Watt are there in 14th. It's the first time we've seen Harriet Watt in a while, which is rather nice. Elsewhere, we've got University of Hertfordshire's B team in 15th, and that is UCLM in 16th, with York's B team following them up in 17th position on the left side of the track. Meanwhile, over back on the right is the B team from Glasgow, with Aberdeen down in 19th. A really interesting choice for Aberdeen, because they're there with a Chevy. Most of the teams have gone with either the BMW or the McLaren, which I think is rather an interesting one. Another team that's gone with the Chevy, wasn't expecting to see this, it's UDG.
That's the University of Greenwich. Welcome
wow,
back, guys.
Hey.
We've not seen them since the first round.
I can't even remember seeing them in the first round. Hello, Greenwich.
They were in server 2, I think.
And
yes.
Meanwhile, in 21st, and rounding out the towards the back end of the grid, it's Morgan Lucker for Cardiff's A team, their second driver in the grid tonight. Meanwhile, Hong Kong Polytechnic are in 22nd, with Glasgow Caledonian, the last placed team, in 23rd. We've got one server tonight, an hour of racing to come. We've seen the grid. Shall we see what Monty's car looks like tonight?
There we are. We're in a Porsche.
Yes.
We're in a Porsche. I see. Oh, there we are.
Oh my
Dear,
god.
oh dear.
Jess is an Easter bunny, right? And who's in the Easter egg? Looks like me. Looks like me.
What does it-
If you weren't going to have nightmares before, you certainly are now. Well done, kids.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I was not.
Wait, no. Where are the Easter eggs, Giles?
Oh my days. That's even...
That's even worse.
Oh my days.
Oh, I'm broken.
I can't believe
I'm broken. I am so broken by this. Oh, fair play.
The thing is with those photographs is they had to look really hard to find a photograph of you when you shaved your head briefly.
Oh.
To find one where my forehead looks like an egg, all you have to do is go on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Indeed.
They've done good. They've done really
go,
good. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them for finding that. That's some serious Facebook stalking going on by
It must have
Rod
been
there.
Facebook or Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Here we go then. Race 1 for the Formula Student Sim Racing Series, round 6. We're at Mugello. Expect night, expect day, expect sunshine, expect rain. It is all to come for the next hour. Lock yourselves in. This is going to be a properly exciting event. You've got all top teams revving up on the grid. This is the last race before the grand final at the Williams eSports Centre. Here come the lights, here come the revs, here comes the action. We're about to go racing again for the Formula Student Sim Racing Series, and they are away. And Dylan Warren, as ever, gets an impeccable start. But Queen Mary are right there with him, side by side into turn 1. Who's going to get the best exit onto turn 1 then? That's the question. And Queen Mary are pulling ahead in the McLaren. But, of course, Warren's got the inside line. He dives down on the inside and he retakes the lead. Momentarily lost because of the acceleration of the McLaren in the BMW there. For York, Warren holding on to that position he qualified in. But he's got a rear end full of Queen Mary. Beginning to pull away now. Meanwhile, dicing it further at the back is Cardiff. Right in the melee and in the mix. That's all happening now. UCLM moving up positions as Glasgow's B team go down. Up goes Cardiff into 7th. And well away, a big disaster, a big pile-up, and that is Southampton. An absolutely disastrous start for Southampton, who are your championship leaders at the moment. Glasgow's A team clearly have had a poor start given the nature of the back end of their BMW. There's been some contact going on there. It's all kicked off right out of the gate.
I believe it was Southampton and Glasgow who made contact there, Giles.
I completely missed that. Thank you for informing me. That classic rivalry back yet again. Glasgow and Southampton.
Oh no, not again! Glasgow B team touching Strathclyde there on the inside.
That's not gone well for either of the teams from Glasgow University. Meanwhile, there is another Scottish team, Strathclyde. Meanwhile, you've got Hull A with Top Hat Tyler nicely in 3rd, holding on to 3rd. Interestingly, Dylan Warren not immediately pulling out the substantial lead that he typically does in these races. You've still got Queen Mary and Hull both in full view of Warren's car, and it looks to be getting a bit tail happy there from Tyler, kicking the tail out. I think these BMWs are a little bulkier, a little heavier than the McLarens, and as a result, you've really got to hang it on the ragged edge to keep up with them. Pat Tyler doing a nice job of keeping up with Queen Mary as they complete 1 lap and they head into lap 2 or 3 now. I think we've only done 1 lap, so we're into the 2nd lap already. Looking down to the inside, not close enough. But meanwhile, back further up, we've got De Montfort dicing it out with Bolton and Cardiff. It's all happening.
Someone's in the wall. That's Vigo.
The Spaniards are in the wall. They're back onto the racing line. They've got a rear end full of a number of teams who are having to take emergency action to avoid them. That was very close indeed. Vigo didn't really have much choice. The wall kind of just spat them back out onto the track, and then they were right in the way of the traffic. So all teams doing a great job to avoid any incidents there. Coming through here now, Vigo determined to make up for lost time. You're on board with Aberdeen, who are one of the only teams running a Chevy in the driver lineup tonight. Ahead of them, they're all getting a little bit elbows out already, going round. Oh, what a move this is, with Hong Kong Polytechnic on the inside and Aberdeen on the outside, trying to get through. Aberdeen have got the inside line on Hong Kong. They surely can make this work, but it's a case of who's got the hardest right foot, and it looks to me that Hong Kong might just manage to hold on to this. They're side by side, Jess.
This is absolutely amazing stuff, and if you just ride the curb there, maybe that gains the momentum a little bit, but that might not have helped the Hong Kong. It's helped Aberdeen a little bit, staying off the curb a little bit. Meanwhile, we got Leicester, who's fighting with Hertfordshire 18 for P8, and there's valuable points in this. Even if you just attend and finish, you get some good points. And Leicester's doing a great job to be in the top 10. They will be very happy with this. And it's a shame what we're seeing with Southampton. They're dropping way down the field. And we were saying about the drop round. If you struggle in this round, maybe this could be a blessing in disguise. They will lose out on less points. So in a way, they'll be consistent all season. They're going to be disappointed, but at least they're going to find deciding their drop rounds easier if they have a rubbish race.
I must say, if I were in Southampton's position, I'd be thinking back 12 months ago when the drop round really did come back to bite them in the arse. They lost a substantial amount of points, and it put them at a real disadvantage to the other teams that they were fighting against for the win for the championship. So this, as you were saying, Jess, might well be a blessing in disguise for Southampton, as they're, oh, dearie me.
Oh,
That's
more contact, UCLM.
That's all dearie me. Right, who's that? Well, that's the University of Strathclyde. That is UCLM. It's not Strathclyde.
And York,
York and UCLM.
I think that the drivers will be having a talking to, Giles, because there's a lot of unsafe rejoins there. The drivers have just got to be aware of when the cars around them get past, and that's just what's so tricky around this circuit. It's just so hard to see when they're coming down. So look at their mirrors very, very closely, just to see if they're able just to make sure that the drivers behind them get past before they move out of the way. It's just common courtesy, because otherwise you get accidents like that where they could get damaged. And if you pit for damage in a 1 hour endurance race, you're toast, because you're going to lose so much time and not much time to get going again. But Glasgow A having a ding-dong battle with Aberdeen as well. Aberdeen was hoping to gain more from Hong Kong Polytechnic. It's about almost a full second ahead, Hong Kong Polytechnic. Doing a great job. Glasgow Caledonian and Hertfordshire B going for a ding-dong, and they make contact with Greenwich, who had a very good start.
That's a disaster for Greenwich. As you were saying, Jess, they made a fantastic start, and this now, for Mr. Steptoe, has not gone particularly well. I mean, that was it. Yes, the driver from Greenwich had the surname Steptoe, and I couldn't believe that there was an actual person with the surname Steptoe, and it wasn't just a BBC sitcom. Meanwhile, here's Glasgow Caledonian chasing down Vigo, looking down the start-finish straight, pulling to the outside. That does give Vigo the inside line, but can they out-accelerate them into turn one in the McLaren? It does seem likely, and they have made that work very well. An immensely clean move from Glasgow Caledonian, but Vigo have got the slipstream on the back end of Glasgow Caledonian, and they will be fighting back for that position. Again, the tail stepping out on Vigo in that BMW. They're a very tail-happy sort of car, and that you can see how badly this race has been going for Glasgow. They're down in 14th, and the body panels tell their own story.
Yes, I could see that they're struggling to put their car in a straight line. The suspension seems to be difficult, and with a track where you need more suspension to ride the curves a bit more, then this is going to be an absolute nightmare for Glasgow.
Meanwhile, McScottish has confirmed to us that he just wanted to have fun in the Camaro, not gonna lie, we're reliably informed.
Nice.
Salvatore has corrected me in respect to the BMWs. He says, just for your information, the BMW is very agile in the corners where the McLaren struggles. However, the McLaren is a bullet on the straight. So it's a question of, do you want to fly through the corners, or do you want to be able to put your foot down and get away from everybody else? It's an interesting choice, and there is near enough an equal split between McLarens and BMWs. The Camaro is just American, says Salvatore. Take from that what you will, all things considered at the moment. Safian says, University of Greenwich! And Robert Eldon corrects me, saying it's not actually that hard to find a bold Monty, surprisingly. Meanwhile, you're on board with Cardiff's very own Aaron Farmer, dicing it out with De Montfort as they head down the start-finish straight towards turn one, getting the slipstream are Cardiff, and they're back out on the outside now. Can they do the same as Glasgow Caledonia managed to do on Vigo? Going into this corner, it's looking very close indeed. I don't think that Cardiff are going to manage this, but maybe they are. They get a nose ahead of De Montfort, and they are away. That is a fantastic, a very clean move there from Cardiff on De Montfort, and that puts Cardiff up into 6th position. Meanwhile, here's Queen Mary Formula student, dicing it out, sticking like glue to the back end of York's A team with Dylan Warren behind the wheel there. This is a fantastic result for Queen Mary, because they are well ahead of, just about ahead of York's A team. York A down in 5th at the moment in the championship standings. Queen Mary in 2nd. A result like this, coming 2nd, will be enough for them. They will want the win, and I don't think they're not without a shout of it.
Don't forget, Giles, it was comeback between them and Southampton, and with Southampton lower down in the not even scoring that many points, then that's going to help Queen Mary substantially, but they're going to lose more points in the drop round. So Queen Mary, they're going to look good now, but once we get to the drop round, they're going to think very carefully to decide which one could be the drop round at the moment. It seems to me Southampton is climbing their way back through the field, which is great to see. They're right on the back of Scottish for 13th spot. We've got Chevrolet versus McLaren, and Scottish in the Chevrolet is doing a decent job as he's trying to chase down another Scottish team of Glasgow in the BMW. I'm a bit disappointed that no one's opted for the Porsches, Giles. I wanted to see some Porsches on the circuit.
Once you've seen one Porsche, you've seen them all, Jess. Meanwhile, Aberdeen driving an American car through corners. Who knew it was possible? You can see the roll on that car, very much an American in its engineering, is the Chevy. McScottish having a fair bit of fun in that. Maybe the fun's about to end. It's Southampton coming right out close to their back end. That was very close indeed, taking a slightly wider line to avoid any contact, but Aberdeen will be well aware of Southampton in their rear view mirrors as they come across the start-finish line to complete another lap. The time on the clock is 10 minutes past 1. Sunshine at the moment. Bit of cloud coverage. Looking to the outside, looking to the inside, diving to the inside, and almost using the pit exit to get in on the inside of Glasgow. Not Glasgow, Aberdeen there was Southampton, and Southampton are now ahead of Aberdeen. That's an interesting choice to make. I don't know about the legality of it. I wouldn't like to question it. It might well be that it's completely legal, and if so, it's incredibly creative. And we're back now with Glasgow's A team. They've got Glasgow Caledonians separating them from their old-time rival Southampton. Up ahead of them, it's Vigo. But Vigo are a long way up. If I was Glasgow, I'd be a little more concerned about what's behind me than what's in front of me. What are we doing on the weather? How is the weather looking at the moment? Is there an opportunity to talk to our resident virtual weatherman, Monty?
It's a very good question. Let me go and see if I can find our weatherman. I'll be back in a second.
Wonderful stuff. You can see Glasgow there as they try and put the gap between themselves and their fellow Glaswegians. Glasgow Caledonian. I'll be up in Glasgow in a couple of weeks. If they've got any recommendations about spots to go to, I'd be very grateful. I look forward to it. Meanwhile, Monty's just trying to get hold of our weatherman because, remember, we've got that 12 times speed set on the day and the weather. So immediately, we're not going to see just a full daytime race. We'll see nighttime. We'll see rain potentially. We don't know. It's just a big load of question marks. It makes it that bit harder for the teams. Meanwhile, here is Cardiff chasing down University College Dublin now. They're in 6th. They're determined to get into the top 5. How's that looking for them as they head towards the start-finish straight? It does seem to be turn 1 where the moves are being made on this circuit. As Jess was saying earlier, it's rather narrow, built typically for motorbikes as opposed to track cars, and they've got the added advantage here to both UCD and Cardiff. They're both in the same sort of car, so it's a bit more equal through the corners, and that is some very nice defensive driving from University College Dublin, frustrating Aaron Farmer for Cardiff no end as he looks for a way round. It wasn't to be that time. He might well have to wait for another lap before we get back to turn 1, because that seems to be the ideal overtaking spot. Jess, you are a successful sim racer. Where would you be overtaking on this track if you had a choice?
I've not raced here, so I have no idea where I would overtake. I think turn number 1 will be the prime opportunity, but we know with tracks that are narrow and designed for motorcycles, there's not many opportunities to overtake, really. There could be some more around the outside moves here, as you can see with the other Cardiff team there trying to get the slipstream from USM in 18th spot. But yeah, I think the main spot I would go for is turn number 1. But sometimes you would like to stick to the car in front, and also make sure you do not be too bothered about the car in front, be more bothered about the car behind. But I'm very impressed with the top 2 battle, Giles. I was not expecting Queen Mary to challenge York A at the moment. This is really nail-biting stuff for the win. It may come down to strategy on who takes the race win here.
I'm in total agreement with you, Jess. That gap has not gone over a second between the two front runners. It's up to 0.8. It's fluctuating between 0.6 and 0.8 seconds between Queen Mary and York. And I do agree with you, Jess. I think this could definitely come down to strategy. It's going to come down to patience, I think, in the case of 5th position. Cardiff lining up University College Dublin for another go already. Is it a matter of time before the Welsh get past the Irish? Into turn 1 again. Can they make this work where they didn't last time? Keep your eyes on this as they fly down the start-finish straight. Foot to the floor, both in the BMWs, both quite nimble through the corners. No worries about any McLarens too close to them, because obviously the McLaren's that bit faster through the straights. Looking to the outside, trying to get the switch back, does Aaron, but doesn't quite manage it. And that is some really great defensive driving from Dublin, but Dublin have let him through and they're closing him out. They're pushing him onto the grass. Very, very nice stuff from both drivers, keeping it clean. It's aggressive, but it's tidy, and that's what we like to see on the Sim Racing Series. How are we doing on that weather forecast, Monty?
Oh, I don't know if I'm the right one to tell you about that, but I have brought another James in here who might be able to tell you about the forecast.
James!
Hello, I'm your weatherman, gusty wind. Now,
wind, I'd love to know, are we going to see some gusty wind? What are we going to see coming up for the duration?
well, currently at the moment we're not looking at too many differences in changings of weather at the moment. You may see a few clouds in the sky, although saying that I am starting to feel a few drops of rain on my head, so we'll see how that develops as well.
Given that it's a video game, I imagine you might want to check for a leak in the ceiling, mate, but there we are.
A bit of sweat in your helmet.
I'm not George Russell.
Exactly.
Or Ferrari, if it's wet, it must be the water. This Cardiff chasing down University College Dublin. James suggesting that rain might be forthcoming as the light begins to die around Mugello. You can see the teams have got their headlights on now, so the light's beginning to go away. We're going to approach the nighttime section of this race. What's going to come first? Cardiff getting past University College Dublin, or the moon? We'll find out. As teams might want to start checking the weather forecast. Rain could be on the way. That might necessitate a change of tyre. We're back onto the start-finish straight yet again for 5th position. Cardiff on University College Dublin. Could they potentially pull the same move down? No, they don't choose. Cardiff don't choose to try and use the pit exit, as we saw earlier. Some of the other teams getting quite creative with the track limits. Diving to the inside on the switchback, putting University College Dublin under immense pressure through clean driving, and that's enough for Aaron to go through on College Dublin. That is Cardiff up into 5th position. An unforced error, or so somewhat of an unforced error, I think is the correct term, for College Dublin, and that puts them down into 6th. What do you reckon of that, Jess?
Well, that was a very brilliant move from Aaron Farmer, and I think it just shows that there's some drivers that have got the experience of racing on tracks like this as well, and for longer races, and that's definitely shown for that. They was able to make an overtake as UCLM has had a moment in turn 1, and if I were you, just wait a little bit. There you go, they're able to get back on the circuit. That's an example of what good of a rejoin looks like. Wait until the other cars go past, and then go on and carry on your merry way. And it looks like the battle of the Scottish universities is still going on, Giles.
It does indeed. We've got Glasgow, Caledonian and Aberdeen duking it out for 13th position, and that is getting very close indeed. That looks to me to be Aberdeen through on the inside, but they're side by side with Glasgow Caledonian. That is the two Scottish teams swapping body paint, swapping body panels. The McLaren versus the Chevy, and shockingly, that is the Chevy through on the McLaren as Aberdeen with Scottish behind the wheel takes 13th from Glasgow Caledonian.
Wow, wow, wow. We weren't expecting a Chevrolet to try and get past a McLaren there, but it just shows that he's adaptable to any type of car, and the Scottish could be able to do that, so fair play there. And will he be able to close in on his next rival, Southampton? We'll have to wait and see. The Mumford's looking quite close on University of College Dublin. Maybe College Dublin is struggling with their tyres or fuel management, whereas the Mumford is doing absolutely brilliantly. It's all about saving your tyres here, knowing that the race is going to be on for a long period of time. We know in some endurance races, people like to double stint the tyres, and I think the Mumford could do that if they wanted to, as they close in on College Dublin and Cardiff. Queen Mary, on the other hand, is getting closer and closer to York A, probably closer than I've ever seen them, Giles, in this race.
This is properly close now. I can't believe this, but at the same time, we're all here for it in the commentary box. The sun is setting on Margello. Is the sun setting on Dylan Warren's dominance in the Formula Student Sim Racing Series? The next few corners could make all the difference. We know the McLaren has got the straight line speed. We're reliably informed, thanks to Salvatore, that the BMW is pretty damn quick through the corners. These cars are fairly evenly matched on different parts of the course. This is the battle for the win with 41 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. Here comes Queen Mary on York A. This is excellent racing. It's just a matter of anticipation. The moment is coming. Do not go anywhere. Elsewhere in the comments, we've got plenty of love coming in for Harriet Watts from Safyan and Maidha. Meanwhile, Robert Eldon saying, I'm also sad there's no Porsche. Cook with that livery. C. Jones, go on number 18. Gav says, let's go Harriet Watts. And Ethan Guy says, gusty wind, my new favourite weatherman. Meanwhile, this is just beginning to get quite tentative here. If I were Dylan Warren,
I would get a move on, I would defend.
I'd be looking for in my rearview mirrors. They are really testing the track limits here. And this is it. They're side by side now. And that shock of all shocks, Queen Mary are a nose ahead. And Yorgay takes it back and gets very defensive. But Yorgay's got the switchback. Queen Mary had the switchback, I should say. I can't even keep up with this. It's so exciting. And this is really intense now. There's millimeters between the front of the McLaren and the back of the BMW. Yorgay, Warren with his elbows out, defending like a madman from the Queen Mary BMW. This is impeccable. And you know for a fact that Warren will be desperate to keep up his clean streak. I don't think he's finished anything further than 3rd place, and that was on his debut race.
Don't forget, he had a moment in Charlotte in his first race. He would have finished in the top 3, but he did have a moment where he had an incident, so he could have finished higher.
Without moments, he's been at the top of the podium every single time. And all of a sudden, here's Queen Mary challenging him for the first time all season. And you could see the stress in the drive, I think, personally. And Jess, you must correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a lock-up, I felt like, at some point.
Yeah, it looked like it as well, and you could see that the gap's starting to increase a bit more. And don't forget, with the sun setting, the track conditions are getting cooler as well, and there may be some drivers that are better suited to the cooler conditions compared to the warmer conditions. So this may help the likes of York A, who does very well. Remember, I think was it night? No, it was nighttime the race before Imola. And we know he did well there as well. I know in Imola it was dry, I believe, as well in the daytime. But there we go. Riding on board with Lauva against Glasgow B team and USM as well. Almost made contact between the pair of them as well. This is getting very, very exciting with 13.8 minutes still to go. And with the visibility reducing, that means the references are going to be oh so key. It's going to be different as well compared to what you're seeing in the daytime conditions, Giles.
We're about to see essentially a different race unfold now as the sun goes down and the drivers settle into the nighttime stint of their hour behind the wheel. Here again is Queen Mary. They've closed the gap back up on York. York determined to hold on to this position with Dylan Warren behind the wheel. Glasgow's 18, meanwhile, back down in 10th. And there's Southampton in 12th. All that separates them and their old rivals is University College Dublin, who do seem to be dropping down the running order somewhat. They were running in 5th, and then Aaron Farmer got through on them for Cardiff, and ever since they've been tumbling their way down. And that's the first pit stop of the night. University of Greenwich are in the pits, or are they in the pits?
Are they?
Well, that's an interesting choice, I must say. That's not the pit stop, that's the pit lane. You need to put into a box, guys.
I think they're admiring the skin job of my car. Off they go.
If they wanted to see the skin of your car, Monty, yeah, and they would have wasted so much time just by waiting there. But meanwhile, Glasgow B team is fighting USM for 17th position once again. It's getting very nail-biting. They're bagging wheels once again like a bump draft, which sometimes can be done in these GT4 cars. I won't be surprised if Glasgow B team go for the move here in these corner conditions. He's going to lick the stab and send it, maybe. Is he going to keep the same line? Oh, they make a bit of contact, which may have unsettled the car there a little bit, but I don't think he's not going to give up here as the sun is coming down, which means the visibility is reducing even more now. It is almost night time, which means things are getting even more interesting. Glasgow B team is not giving up.
properly exciting stuff towards the back of the grid, but Glasgow's B team have gone wide. They've gone wide. Through goes Morgan Lucker for Cardiff. Will York's B team go through as well? Yes, they do. York's B team go through. Harriet Watt go through, and that is Glasgow's B team relegated to 21st after an off. They went wide and they lost a lot of positions there.
I think it's starting to get slippy, guys. Have a look.
I see some drops of rain. I see drops of rain, Monty.
We've got rain. Stand by for potential tyre changes as the teams begin to struggle for grip. And that is Bolton in the pits. Queen Mary only 0.3 seconds behind York. It's all happening at once. There are teams in the pits. Greenwich were the first to pit, but they seem to be using it like a McDonald's drive-through, which may not be the most efficient use of their time, I must say. But you've got Bolton, you've got Southampton, you've got Hertfordshire's A team and Hertfordshire's B team, all now in the pits. The gap staying at 0.3 seconds between your race leaders York and Queen Mary. 35 minutes of racing to go. Into the pit. Everyone is diving into the pits now. The rain, you can now definitely see it on your screens. I've just managed to pick up on that. And that is Glasgow's B team deciding they're going to go for another lap. Will that bite them in the rear end? I don't know. But you've got Queen Mary and York both up ahead, battling for the lead. Neither of the teams have pitted. The rain's coming down hard now. They're going to have to ease off because the grip is gone. And if they don't want to be doing a metal version of Torval and Dean and the Bolero, they're going to have to be patient and bring it in to swap their tyres out before they can go at it again like a bat out of hell. Here comes the rain. Here comes the excitement. 35 minutes to go, Jess. What do you reckon?
How many puns could Giles fit in a single sentence? I don't know. But as we're seeing more drivers come into the pit, our front two are going in, and they were pretty much crawling these two, making sure that they don't hit each other or sliding on the track somewhere. As we're seeing one car that's come out who already is a lap down. It's definitely going to be wet tyres on our drivers. We're seeing Bolton and Hertfordshire A doing the same. And for the ones who pit, don't forget, they don't know about the weather that much. So they may think, oh, it's going to stay dry for one bit of it. It definitely is not dry now, and that's going to bite the likes of the ones who pitted early, like Greenwich, for example. As I think we're seeing someone just come out of the pit again. That is someone that just put on the wet tyres as well. Top Hat Tyler has come in. Yeah, everyone who hasn't come in, Giles, is coming in.
It's an interesting time for them to come into the pits, though, guys, because this really is pit stop window. And if you look at the track, there's not actually a spray. So I reckon they're pondering at the moment, is it worth gambling for the wets, or do they stay out on the dry? Because look, it's not, there's still blue patches of sky, and there's not actually a spray. So if they go out on wets just now, they're going to burn up those wets.
I will be honest, if I were them, I'd be going on the wets. We saw how slippy it was getting towards the back end of the grid, and I can say I would be going for the wets. York A going away, followed very quickly by Queen Mary. Can Queen Mary get the jump on them out of the pit exit is the question. We know for a fact that Dylan Warren is perfectly capable of defending position. And as the top teams head back out on track, we are racing again at Margello for the #1 spot. But the top 3 teams have all selected wet tyres. The question is, will that work out for them as an engineering decision? Is that the correct choice? I personally think so. Monty a bit more hesitant. We're about to find out, and thank goodness that we've got the collision set off on pit lane, otherwise that could have been disastrous. Meanwhile, Glasgow's A team, they're up to 9th now as they head back out on track. Ahead of them, Vigo and the University of Leicester. You've got Cardiff up to 4th as a result, but they are under pressure from Bolton. Both, in fact, everyone's on the wets. Everyone's on wet tyres, apart from those in the pits, who I imagine are swapping on to the wets. So it's very much a wet track at Margello now. With nearly
it definitely is.
Just over half an hour to go, in the dark, in the wet. It's like a usual night out in Wales, this is. Speaking from experience. We've got Bolton chasing down Cardiff. Meanwhile, back here it's Glasgow with a back end full of Hertfordshire's B team. Looking to the inside, trying to get through on them. That's going to be a little bit iffy. You can see their headlights coming into the back of your screens, and through they come. Through come University of Hertfordshire B team to overtake Glasgow Caledonian and put themselves up into 14th position.
Giles, the only team running slicks.
Oh yes, Glasgow Caledonian on slicks at the moment. You can see on the left-hand side, everyone that's got wet tyres.
No wonder they got out of the way. They are struggling. I can't lie. That looks like an ample opportunity.
They made the gamble and it didn't pay off. I think you can start to see the spray forming as you can see the track is very down. As we've got a battle for the lead, Giles.
We have got a battle for the lead. It was a matter of time, and Queen Mary have taken the lead onto the start-finish straight from York. Dylan Warren flashing his lights to no avail. The McLaren is ahead of the BMW. We've got half an hour of racing to go, and we have swapped the race leaders. Queen Mary are in the lead.
Absolutely beautiful stuff as well, and we know that we thought that the BMW will be better in the corners, which will help in the wet, but we can see York just sliding ever so slightly, trying to get those tyres up to temperature, and you can see the gap increasing. Maybe Queen Mary have opted for a wet setup in the way that's really helped them, but how are they able to judge that when they don't know the weather beforehand? Maybe they just made a gamble on the setup and hope that it's paid off for them. Here comes College Dublin fighting with De Montfort. It's going to be very close into pit exit in towards T1. Who's going to have the upper hand here as well? College Dublin at the moment gets past De Montfort, but Vigo's going to come and join the party. Slight bit of contact, but not much. As I was going to say, not much undoing, but there is quite a lot of things going on. Yep, and that sends car number 5 of Vigo into a spin. It was a shame because that move was sensational.
An absolutely spectacular move that sadly didn't pan out for them. A disaster then for Vigo. Meanwhile, Glasgow Caledonian have realised their mistake and they are back into the pit lane. It's sending them down the running order. No doubt they'll be putting themselves on wet. The question I'd like to know, if Glasgow Caledonian could let us know, what was the reason for choosing slicks in the first place? It was a gamble, and unfortunately it didn't pay off. Plenty of comments coming through. Darren Davidson saying Top Hat Tyler is king in the wet. Let's definitely look out for him. Ronk saying incredible move from the University of Leicester.
He's right. Look at the gap coming down. Top Hat Tyler, it was 8 seconds. Now it's 4.2.
Tyler very much knowing what to do in the wet, a master of the damp. Elsewhere, Safian has pointed out Steptoe's game was lagging in the pits, hence the McDonald's drive-through pit stop for Greenwich. Meanwhile, Salvatore says in the wet, the BMW corner advantage gets suppressed slightly, expecting the McLarens to have the advantage in the wet. As ever, thank you, Salvatore, for that insight. I've also been reliably informed there's some rather interesting stuff going on in a certain single-seat racing competition we'll talk about later. Right now, De Montfort in the dark. Plenty of pressure for them from Glasgow's A-team. And that looks to me to be Glasgow's A-team on the side-by-side with De Montfort, and Glasgow are up into 10th. As they go on the inside of De Montfort have no reply, no defence for that move, and that relegates them outside of the top 10. Gutting for those, meanwhile, the gap between Queen Mary and York A, that's opened up, Jess, to a staggering 2.3 seconds.
I think the setup, that's what's doing it for them. And I did tell you, Giles, it was about the strategy. And Formula Student is an engineering situation in its own right. If you don't design a setup that's suited for both conditions, then you're gonna be struggling in pretty much the wet conditions, where you're gonna do so well on the dry but rubbish in the wet. UCLM is passing your B team, I believe, for P17 on the road, goes to the outside line. I can't remember what turn it is because it's hard to see in the dark, but they got the headlights on anyway towards the start finish straight. UCLM just about gets York B in towards P17. The gap now between York A and Hull A is coming down significantly. 3.8 seconds again. It's coming down a second a lap.
It's worth noting as well that, of course, you've got Queen Mary in the wet in the McLaren and York A in the wet in the BMW. And as Salvatore was pointing out, that cornering advantage for the Beamers goes away in the wet. So potentially that might well be why. Do you know who else is doing? We've been talking about how well Top Hat Tyler has been doing in the wet, and that's really coming into effect at the moment. But do you know who else has been doing rather well in the wet? It's only Cardiff.
Alan Farmer.
Hang on, is that at Cardiff? No, it's not. Do you know what this is, Jess? This, shock of all shocks, this is Hull's 18. This is Top Hat Tyler going wheel to wheel with Dylan Warren for York A. And this is Dylan Warren seemingly struggling in the wet. He's already lost first, and he's about to lose second place to Hull. I don't believe this. This is unbelievable. In the dark, we couldn't see what the liveries were. It looked for a second like it was Cardiff on York, but no, it's York on Hull. And Hull go away, slipping and sliding away through to second place on the podium. An unbelievable drive from Tyler Davison.
Brilliant.
We know he's good in the wet, and this could blow the series wide open.
Oh my goodness, and I think what also comes down to is have they put the practice in the wet conditions? I, as an experienced sim racer, I hardly ever practice for the wet conditions. I spend majority of my time getting used to the track in the dry. So maybe Dylan Warren has put less time in at the wet conditions and more on the dry. You never know. Or we just might be struggling in the wet and put equal time anyway, and they still can't get a grip of how to handle the car anyway. But to be fair, this is going to be interesting. Will we see the cap come down between the other teams as well? We'll have to find out. But this is because I do remember, obviously, Top Hat Tyler did not think he was going to beat Dylan Warren here tonight. Well, he's proving that at the moment, and the gap is now gone to 5.9, well, 2.5 seconds already. It's just, what is happening right now? College Dublin is a beat in the wet as well. They're past Bolton.
Can I add another?
Is the question.
Can I add another observation to this one, guys? People,
Yes.
car we're looking at just now, McScottish. This Chevrolet seems quite handy in the wet because they've clawed up 9 places since the pit stops. Look at them, they're almost into a top 10 position now. This weather's really changing everything on its head.
It's a Chevy. It's so heavy it can't aquaplane. It's like a tank. And I think quite possibly Aberdeen and McScottish just trying to have a bit of fun. You can see the brakes glowing inside the hubs there. That's madness. But I will say this, that this might well have just played into the hands of Aberdeen inadvertently just by trying to have a bit of fun. I love that for them. So at the moment, your running order, as things stand, Queen Mary, Formula Student, are your race leaders, with Top Hat Tyler for Hull A in 2nd place. York's A team, shockingly, down into 3rd after complete dominance with every time Dylan Warren has been behind the wheel. Potentially, we'd love to know what's going on there because this is somewhat uncharacteristic of York A. Cardiff are right behind them now, although the gap, I will say, is 10 seconds between Cardiff and York A. There's 24 minutes of racing to go, and the weather is very interchangeable. We're in the dark here at the moment. The sunlight is expected to return before the checkered flag. Bolton are in 6th. They've got a fair bit of distance between themselves and University College Dublin, who are up there in 5th. Behind them, University of Leicester. They're not really going to be bothering Bolton at the moment unless University of Leicester can really get a kick on and close that gap down. Hertfordshire's A team are in 8th, Southampton in 9th. They're not going to be happy with that. Their closest rivals, Queen Mary, are leading the race. They're back down in 9th after a first lap incident with Glasgow. Yet again, talking of Glasgow, they're in 10th. Aberdeen in the Chevy, in the tank. Oh, that was talking of a tank. That's a tank slapper going on there for Bolton. Well held there. Some nice sideways driving in the dark, in the wet. Not particularly ideal racing conditions, but incredibly entertaining for us here in the commentary box and for you watching this. De Montfort are in 12th, Vigo in 13th, University of Hertfordshire's B team are in 14th. Vigo have gone through on De Montfort and they've taken 12th. Hong Kong Polytechnic in 15th, USM in 16th, York's B in 17th, UCLM in 18th, Harriet Watt in 19th, and Glasgow's B team in 20th.
Giles, if I can just quickly add, so I know we're saying before about, yes, it's getting wet. We can see they're all on the wet tyres, but after the initial hype, I still don't see any spray on the track. And I'm beginning to ponder now, is it going to get any wetter, or are we going to see the tyres starting to fall off a cliff because they're burning out too quickly? Obviously,
with the temperatures, yeah.
Exactly, they're obviously the right one to go on from a performance point of view, but without a spray, they're going to burn out very quickly. I don't know if we're going to get more rain, but I can tell you who will be able to tell us this. Guess who's back in the server?
James.
Hello, James.
Weatherman Gus T. Win back in here.
Go on, Gusty. Give it to us.
Well, I've had to get my coat, I've had to get my umbrella, I'm cold, it's wet, and it's a little bit windy. However, I'll say, got brilliant driving going on. I love the support as well in the chat. Thank you, Ethan Guy, for saying that I am his new favourite weatherman. Very, very, very nice of him. But a lot of support as well going on for Queen Mary and Hull A. You love to see it. You love to see these students rallying behind their teams and rallying behind their drivers.
Excellent stuff. Thank you ever so much, James. Do you know if this rain is going to be sticking about or whether the teams might be back into the pits for a new pair of tyres?
Well, I'm looking at the radar at the moment, and I'll just say it doesn't look pretty.
So the rain seems to be here to stay at this race for now. Thank you ever so much to James. Hopefully we'll catch up with you before the checkered flag. Here is Harriet Watt closing it in. UCLM, you watch the chat explode every time I mention Harriet Watt. You could turn it into a drinking game, I'm sure, but we don't condone that sort of thing here at the Formula Students Sim Racing Series. Please drink responsibly. But that is Harriet Watt under pressure from York B. It looked like they were going to close in on UCLM, but now they've got bigger fish to fry. They've got to hold on to 18th position as York B comes side by side with them into turn 1. The rain barreling down now. And this is the thing. Look at that view there. All you've got, body pot swapping there, paint swapping between Harriet Watt and York B. They're side by side through turn 1. Harriet Watt have got the inside line. They managed to put themselves back ahead of York B. That's some very aggressive driving from the pair of them. And all you've got is these headlights, and the rain's making it even more difficult. Jess, what's it like to drive in conditions like these?
Absolutely terrible. Absolutely hate driving in the wet. You've got to be very smooth with the wheel as well, and you can't afford to push yourself on the throttle too much, because otherwise you're going to send yourself into a slide. So that's going to benefit people that don't require that much assist on the game to just really control it themselves, really. But there might be some people that be using assist. So yeah, the trick here is, as I thought my tablet was going to go and die, the key is make sure that your steering input is very smooth and don't get on the throttle too early. Modulate the throttle to make sure you can get the power in only when it's right. Ideally on the straight. And I'm going to see that Monty will like this. Hertfordshire A team fighting against Southampton.
I'll have more of that, thank you.
Here we go into turn 1. They're not quite close enough.
And we say bye-bye.
Not quite close enough. And Southampton are into the gravel trap, and that is Hertfordshire waving bye in their
Monty's evil laugh.
They sail on through, quite literally in conditions like this. Hertfordshire's A team sailing through into 8th. Monty and Hertfordshire will be absolutely delighted with that. We might have a bit more of Hertfordshire in the Formula Student news to come later on in tonight's broadcast.
I apologise, guys. I apologise. That was flat out bias from me there. Sorry.
Oh, and it's gone again! It's gone again!
Oh, no!
I've just done what Southampton did, and they've gone into the gravel trap, and that's Southampton back through. You couldn't write it.
That's karma. That's karma right there. I'm gonna stay out of this now.
Commentator's cursed, Monty.
Every time, Jess, every time the commentator's curse comes, it's because of me. Sorry, guys.
Well, I've jinxed a lot of people this season, so you now get one added to your list, mate.
I've never annoyed anyone in my life. I'm completely innocent. Meanwhile, Darren G says University College Dublin is on an absolute charge. Madia over the moon with a Harriet Watt mention. Darren Davison saying keep the rain coming and up the top hat. And Anastasia is suggesting that Salvatore joins us in the commentary box for his insight into Queen Mary and the car's performance in various different conditions. Salvatore, thank you ever so much for your continued assistance to us here in the box. It's thoroughly appreciated.
Oh, there's someone off! There's someone off!
There is someone off. Who is it?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's in the dark. We couldn't tell you. But we do have more insight from Salvatore, oddly enough.
It was
And more
Greenwich.
spray.
I can tell you it's Greenwich. I just can't get them on camera. I'm so sorry about that, guys.
They're that far off the circuit.
Yes.
Salvatore, meanwhile, has come back to us. Top Hat is the fastest man on track. Will eventually catch Daniel in P1, but passing won't be easy due to the straight line speed difference. So keep your eyes on what's going on up ahead. I'll be interested to know what has gone on with the drop-off in York's performance, because by the sounds of things, it's going to be a shootout between Hull A, with Top Hat Tyler, and Queen Mary in first. There's a gap of 3.6 seconds between the two drivers at the moment. 17 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. So that gap can definitely be closed down. The rain, looking by the radar, to be sticking with us for the duration of the race. But where is York A in all of this? Where have they gone? York B, meanwhile, you're watching on your screens right now. But York A, they're a whole 13 seconds down on Hull A. You're on board with them now. There is Dylan Warren for York A in the BMW. Been absolutely dominant in every race he's driven for York. Was a surprise driver entry to us in the commentary box. We weren't expecting to see him tonight.
Which is probably why maybe he was asked to do this last minute, and hence maybe he hasn't practiced that much because he was asked to do it last minute.
I think that might well be it, Jess. But to be fair, if you've done it last minute and you're lapping in third, that's a very, very decent performance to say the least, and that's an understatement. Queen Mary, your race leaders tonight, with Solon behind the wheel in the McLaren. Behind them, Hull A, closing that gap. It was double or triple what it is now. Hull A really closing in on Queen Mary. We could well be on for a battle for the lead yet again as you watch from the stands as the drivers go across the start-finish line to start another lap. Oh, dearie me, this could be very exciting indeed, to say the least.
Yeah, bring it on over the last 15 minutes, and with the last 15 or so minutes, anything can happen. And the gap is coming down between Queen Mary and Top Hat Tyler, so it's still not over yet at the moment between Cardiff A team and Farmer. That's about 3 seconds now. Harriet Watt is doing quite well as well. That's Hong Kong Polytechnic is trying to make some moves, but it might be just our timing's having a bit of a paddy. No, it's not. There's some action going on the track, and there's 4 cars in a battle for, I'm just trying to see, 16th place, and Hong Kong Polytechnic is leading the train, Giles.
This is going to turn out one way or another. It's either going to end completely cleanly or there's going to be an absolute disaster. You can see the spray beginning to build now. This track is getting properly wet. 4 drivers duking it out for 16th position, and that looks to me to be Harriet Watt have gone through. I think, have Harriet Watt gone through on Hong Kong? No, they haven't. Hong Kong have held on to it, but Harriet Watt are right there with them. Peterson behind the wheel for Harriet Watt, closing in on the team from Hong Kong. And behind them, they've got UCLM and York B to contend with. They're being slowed down by Hong Kong, so they'll be determined to get through. Will Harriet Watt? There's Glasgow's B team back down in 20th after a bit of a moment by the looks of it. And Glasgow Caledonian keeping to themselves down in 21st. I believe they're a lap down. The team from Glasgow. Queen Mary going through on the back markers, followed closely by Hull. The gap, 1.4 seconds between Queen Mary and Hull A. Building towards a fight for the finish between the top 2 teams. Harriet Watt side by side going through on Hong Kong. As Jess was saying, you've got to keep it smooth, and it's almost like it's happening in slow motion. They're so determined to keep it clean and not to collide with each other. Getting a little wide there are Harriet Watt, but they managed to make it work, and they get ahead of Hong Kong, as do UCLM, going past the team from Hong Kong, who are now relegated down into 18th position with York B on the charge behind them.
Yeah, we've got plenty of battles happening everywhere. We've got battles for the lead, battles for podium, and also battles for the last remaining decent point of this race as well. But you can see UCLM and Harriet Watt is definitely giving it everything right now. But what is interesting to me is Queen Mary gained all that time just by being in clean air. They were struggling to get past that traffic, which is why Top Hat Tyler was able to close in all of a sudden within that last lap, I think. So Queen Mary has got to get a move on and pass the car ASAP. That is probably why they're struggling a little bit. But now they're increasing that lap times. Maybe they're getting used to it. Whole A is trying to go through the same thing. But I'm watching the timings come down. We got a battle for 3rd place. We got a battle for round.
Oh, that was nearly a disaster for Queen Mary as one of the Glaswegian teams ended up sideways across the racing line, and it was only through pure skill from the pair of them that they managed to avoid a significant crash. That is Hull A now stuck behind that butt marker that Queen Mary just about managed to avoid a collision with. That's going to really inhibit Hull A's time. I'd imagine over at Queen Mary, everyone's heaving a sigh of relief because that could have very nearly been a very nasty collision, which would have spelt the end of their race, or certainly the end of their time in 1st position.
Important
Hull
reminder
A
as
now...
well, Giles and Jess, there's no blue flags in the series. It's up to the leaders to make their way past the back markers safely.
Yeah, and in order to let the drivers around them know that they're trying to get past, they've got to flash their lights, but they can't do it every lap as they've been told in the driver's briefing. As soon as they know they're trying to get past the back marker, that's when they flash their lights.
Now this is quite interesting because here we've got Hull going now through on those back markers. They did not make it easy for Hull A and Tyler behind the wheel there, and that's lost them half a second between Hull A and Queen Mary. Queen Mary managing to pull away, but they are now well into lapping a lot of the traffic. In fact, everyone below 20th is now in a 1 lap down.
Wow. Which just shows that even the slightest mistake is going to cost you being a lap down, just like I was saying earlier. But we're running on board with Adam Farmer, going to chase down Dylan Warren, and he's going to tuck it to the inside, potentially. He's riding the curb. His suspension in the wet is absolutely brilliant, which is going to help him here, heading towards this next section of the circuit, the start-finish straight. Can Adam Farmer, he's going to use a toe on Dylan Warren as they head through, side by side, up across the line. Is Adam Farmer going to stick to his line and take P3 away from Dylan Warren? Yes, he is. I think it's stick. Yes, it has stuck. Adam Farmer is up into P3, but can Dylan Warren keep within Adam Farmer for the rest of this race? We'll have to wait and see. And it's also a chasing College Dublin also in the action that could snatch away fourth place, as we've got Strathclyde that's rounding the gravel, Giles.
Strathclyde are in the gravel. I don't think De Montfort have had an easy time of it either. They seem to have a bit of an off as well. Potentially the two teams came together. And that is at Cardiff through on York, Hull A, now 3 seconds. And behind the race leaders, and the race leaders Queen Mary stuck behind yet another back marker. Again, as Monty was saying, those blue flags not in existence in this series, so it just makes it that bit harder in the dark, in the wet, for the leaders to get through on the back markers. They could well spoil the race for the front runners, and it's all a bit dramatic, but that looks to me to be fairly clean. I would have thought, oh no,
it's
not clean. It's not clean. That was nearly a disaster for Queen Mary, and only by a miracle did the back marker come off worse from that contact.
I think Queen Mary was very lucky there, but I'm almost certain, Giles, that there's going to be a protest there, and I don't know who would be at fault there. Did the back marker make a mistake? We don't know. But it's not up to us, it's up to the stewards.
That's probably the best way to say that, Jess. I have opinions and I'll keep them to myself. You're on board with your race leaders, Queen Mary. They are 2.1 seconds ahead of Hull A, battling through that traffic that is now building up with 10 minutes of the race to go. In the pitch dark, the rain is coming down here at Mugello. And I've got to say, the top three were not who I was expecting it to be, Jess. Queen Mary in first, in second it's Hull, and in third it's Cardiff with York A down in fourth, struggling with the wet. We've hypothesised that Dylan Warren, who's been dominant up until this point, was brought in at the very last minute and didn't have a lot of time to practice on the server, which may be why there's been that drop-off in performance.
Don't quote me on it, but that's what I think.
Jess, you'd know far better than I would, I will say that. University College Dublin have gone through on York A. The York A, they are struggling here, Jess. There's no doubt about that. The reasoning for it is the question.
Yeah, I think, Monty, I think we're due for final weather update for the last 9 minutes. Is James here?
Oh, James.
Gus T. Wind reporting for duty.
Go for it.
I'm cold, it's wet, it's raining cats, dogs, guinea pigs, hamsters, other pets are available. And it's only going to keep on like this for the rest of this session.
Right, so we've got 8.5 minutes near enough to go, and it is just going to carry on pouring down. Is that what you're telling us?
Absolutely.
So
wow.
if you're listening on the stream, you might want to report to your drivers that they won't want to get their swimming trunks out because it's just going to get wetter from here. Harriet Watt having an absolute disaster, trying to get back onto the track. UCLM letting them out, and they've clearly had a bit of an issue there. UCLM now wanting to get through on Harriet Watt, who they very kindly let back onto the track. I imagine potentially the pair of them had issues and were both being kind. Not something you see often, but there we are. Glasgow up ahead of Aberdeen now. The two Scots duking it out. Aberdeen going through on the inside on the start-finish line. Surely this is Aberdeen's to have. And there's another back marker coming out of the pits. Hang on,
Hong Kong.
Who was that coming out of the pits?
That was Hong Kong Polytechnic. They went into the pit, so they must have got a bit of damage or some sort.
An interesting choice there from Hong Kong. Potential damage is why they're in the pits, but Aberdeen not too worried about that. They're up into the top 10 as they take the final top 10 position from their fellow Scots, and that is Glasgow's A team down into 10th. 11th, I should say. And meanwhile, De Montfort, rather slow looking all of a sudden there, Jess.
Yeah, they are looking a bit slow at the moment, down in 18th position. They're going to struggle a little bit, I think.
Something's happened to them during the race. Weren't they in the top 6 at the beginning?
They were. They were right up there. Something's gone on with De Montfort.
Well, I think something must have happened that we didn't see, but I'm almost certain we will get replays on it later on. But we got another battle for the podium. It's not between York and Cardiff this time. We got Cardiff versus College Dublin. College Dublin, Giles, is on the charge as we head towards C1.
They are on an absolute send, our College Dublin. Cardiff's back end stepping out on them. Potentially Cardiff have overdriven the tyres and might well be losing grip now, which is ideal for College Dublin. It's a rematch between the Irish and the Welsh for the second time in this hour of racing for race 1 of round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. It's the battle for the final position on the podium, not to mention with 6 minutes to go and only 2 seconds between Hull A and Queen Mary, we could be looking at a proper switcheroo for every tier on the podium, going towards the checkered flag with 6 minutes and 15 seconds or thereabouts to go. On the clock, Cardiff under pressure from Ireland, and Hull putting pressure on London with Queen Mary, Formula Student, leading the race with 25 laps complete. And that's Cardiff apparently, that was a timing board error, ignore me. That's Cardiff losing position and losing time to University College Dublin, who are on the hunt now, and that looks to me to be them going straight through. Surely the back end of Cardiff lit up like a carnival float by the headlights of College Dublin. They will know they're there. Will Cardiff, Aaron Farmer defending with all his might, elbows out as he tries to hold on to that final podium position. It will be one of the best results that Cardiff have seen this series. The spray leaping off the back end, coating the windshield of the team from Ireland as College Dublin try to get back past the team that overtook them half an hour ago. It's a proper rematch for the next 5 minutes here at Mugello. Turn 1 does seem to be the overtaking point of choice for these drivers. So is College Dublin just holding back? You can see the car, the BMW of Cardiff, squirming on the edge of the track as they try to maintain grip, but then going a little wide there are Cardiff. Aaron Farmer beginning to struggle in the same way that we've seen York struggling. This is not the time for it if Cardiff want to hold on to that final podium position, Jazz.
And you can see the lap times, they're coming, they're getting slower. The conditions are a lot worse around here, and this could be University College Dublin's opportunity, but even a spray is going to make things difficult, and they got a back marker as well, and like Monty said, there's no blue flag, so the back marker has got season sense to move out the way. Cardiff A versus College Dublin as Cardiff A trying to control that slide. Absolutely beautiful from Aaron Farmer. He knows how to drive in the wet, he knows how to defend.
Well, that's what happens when you go to university in Wales. You get like 2 sunny days a year, and that's about it. Whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, we know Aaron Farmer can control a car in the wet. Those tyres might be gasping for breath. They've been used to the nth degree. They've got them up into 3rd place. Have these tyres for Cardiff. Can they hold on for the next 4 minutes is the question. It's the final position on the podium up for grabs here between 2 drivers that have been duking it out for the past 55, 57 minutes. A slide there from Cardiff. They're using every inch of this car's performance, but that's not enough to keep College Dublin off their back. The gap is closing between the Irish and the Welsh. The gap is also closing between Hull and Queen Mary with 3.5 minutes on the clock. University Hull's B team really
No,
struggling.
Scottish!
McScottish, I'm so sorry, I stand corrected. McScottish struggling in the Chevy, nearly caused a collision with Viga, but managed to get it set right. And the gap is down between Hull A and Queen Mary to 1.9 seconds. It's dropped below 2 seconds. College Dublin, meanwhile, the gap is 0.3 seconds between Cardiff and College Dublin. 3 minutes left on the clock. This is getting very intense indeed, and that's not just because my room has no ventilation and I'm sweating.
The biggest thing we've got to look at here, guys, is how much have they got to lose. At this moment, Dublin have a championship to win. Cardiff, they're not even in the top 10. They've got nothing to lose, so they're going to go for it, whereas Dublin have got to consider the championship. Oh, and there goes Greenwich spinning again.
Cardiff gone. Cardiff down into 4th.
Well, there I am. That's 2
And we got another
curse.
spinner.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's two commentators' curse from me in a race. I'm so sorry, guys.
College Dublin flashed red for a brief moment there, but I do think that's Cardiff's chances of 3rd position gone. Yeah, they've got a clear tarmac up ahead.
No, Dublin's fallen off at the last corner.
Dublin has fallen
They're
off.
changing!
They turned red. I thought I saw that. What on earth happened there?
I think everyone is struggling. It's getting really wet out there, and it's going to be survival now for the last 2 minutes, guys. Fantastic.
Damage invitation.
Talk about blink and you'll miss it drama. 2 minutes on the clock. We thought University College Dublin had done it, but clearly
It's Dylan
that's
Warren.
not the case. And it's Dylan Warren out of nowhere. We thought we'd seen the last of York in this race, but with less than 2 minutes on the clock, they're back for a charge towards 4th position. And all of a sudden,
Maybe the podium.
The hunter becomes the hunted. College Dublin were all over the back end of Cardiff, and now they've got York really coming towards them in the back end of their car.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see the ones who have managed their tyre defensively in the wet really play dividends here, and that's definitely shown with the likes of Dylan Warren just closing in a little bit, and with Cardiff and College Dublin struggling a little bit. This is going to be a tasty finish, I have to say. But I think the battle for the win is pretty much gone unless one of them makes a mistake. So it's all going to be about the battle for the last spot on the podium here.
It really is, because the gap is closing again, and it's Cardiff versus College Dublin once more for the final tier on the podium. There's 1 minute to go. Cardiff have gone wide. Can they get back ahead of College Dublin? No, they can't. They're side by side. Cardiff a nose ahead, but it's very close between the Irish and the Welsh. There was a mistake there from Aaron, and he just by the skin of his teeth managed to get back ahead. There is no gap between these two drivers. Less than a minute on the clock. This is going to be really intense to the line. Is this the final lap? Will they have to go again? They're side by side, and Cardiff have got no answer. Yes, they do. They're back and nose ahead, but College Dublin have got the inside line through the right hand there, and that's College Dublin up into 3rd. Has Aaron got anything to say in reply? I don't think so. That gap's already opening up, and that's College Dublin solidly into 3rd position, leaving Cardiff behind. Cardiff going well wide into the gravel trap, inviting attention from York A team, and York A go through on Aaron as well, and that is Cardiff down into 5th.
Yeah, I think they just didn't like the heavy rain conditions. They were fine with it being like intermediate type of conditions, but for wet, they just didn't get it at all. And you can see top hat Tyler struggling a little bit as well as the rain's getting heavier. So the clock has struck 0. So it's going to be who's going to keep their car pointing in the right directions. As Queen Mary, well, they've driven a great race, haven't they? They've been at the front of the field pretty much the entire race. They're either been the one that's hunting or the one who's just controlled the race from the start.
An absolutely impeccable drive from Queen Mary, who are highly likely to take the checkered flag unless something happens. It usually does in the sim racing, so the fat lady definitely hasn't sung. Certainly not sung for Cardiff, who are now all of a sudden under pressure from Bolton. Cardiff's tyres potentially dropping off as they've fallen down 2 positions. They were on the podium, now they've got a back end full of Bolton. They've just got to get to the line, nurse the car to the line, but Bolton might have something to say about it. They've got that straight line speed in the McLaren. The BMW managing to hold them off in the corners, but on that start-finish straight, it's going to be a race to the line. And if you've got an aggressive right foot in the McLaren, that could well be Cardiff down into 6th. Hold on tight to your hats. Top hat or not, it's all about to happen. York A are going to have to settle for 4th, unlike their usual top spot on the podium. Cardiff under immense pressure from Bolton, and York A have got it all to play. They've got it all to do in the next race, because they're down into 4th, Cardiff in 5th. Under immense pressure from Bolton. Only a few corners to go. Can they hold on is the question. And meanwhile, heading towards the line is Queen Mary. They've opened the gap up to Tyler. That's Queen Mary, surely for the checkered flag and the victory. Cardiff closing it in on York, whilst under pressure from Bolton. It's given them that second win. Has the pressure from Bolton on Cardiff. Queen Mary coming through the final corners, heading towards the finish line, and that is an absolutely spectacular drive from the team from London. They have dominated this race. They got ahead of Dylan Warren for York, and they stayed there. An impeccable race from Queen Mary's. They cross the line and take victory. Hull to follow in 2nd, but Cardiff have been relegated down into 6th. Bolton
on Warren
for the final corner, and could they take 5th from Warren? Could they take 4th from Warren? Yes, they could. That's an incredible charge.
Contact!
They go sideways, and there's drama, and there's a collision, and it's all gone wrong for Bolton. And all of a sudden, Aaron Farmer's back up into 4th. I don't believe it. There was a collision between Bolton and York, and Bolton went off, as did York. Bolton have got through on York. Aaron, breathing a sigh of relief, gifted 2 positions through no fault of his own. Incredible.
I'm just amazed at how much has changed over the last 20 minutes or so. was chucking it down, and there were some people that were struggling, and there were some people that were managing to nail it. Queen Mary just didn't. Like from our side, that they were in control the whole time. I'll be interested to see on how Queen Mary handled it for the entirety of the race, because they probably might be struggling towards the final few laps, but it didn't seem like it.
I couldn't keep up that last lap. that was such a full-on hour, guys. Absolute full-on hour going on there.
I did my best to keep up. I hope between myself and Jess, you managed to, at home, understand more or less what was going on. All I can say is you'll be grateful it's not smell-o-vision, because all of that action and all of that drama I could do with a shower around about now. So I imagine you'll be quite comfortable there with your Easter eggs, not I've got them early. And yeah, just absolutely unbelievable racing for the line. That might have been some of the most exciting stuff we've seen. And it wasn't just at the end, it was throughout the entire race. We need to be doing more endurance races as far as I'm concerned, because that was just epic. Meanwhile, the results in a certain single-seater series for qualifying are available should you wish to see them. And that is all I shall say.
But please do not share them on the chat, because we do have some people who are waiting till after this is done until they go and see it for themselves. Please respect those who don't want a spoiler. Thank you.
If you comment, you're disrespecting Jess, so behave.
Yes, exactly. Right, I need 5 minutes to go and get my breath back, and also get our driver to go and interview. Should we go and do a quick video break?
Yeah, we should.
VT. I mean, at this point, you could roll paint drying at this point. I'm so exhausted.
Well, okay, so a bit of context, guys. So obviously, I was being a little bit biased towards Hertfordshire there in that race. Sorry, I'm a bit Hertfordshire at the moment because they invited me back. I know. They invited me back to go and see the campus again a couple of weeks ago. And it's the first time I've been back there in about 10 years. So I took them up on their offer to come back, see what's happened. And, well, they very kindly filmed the whole thing and did a little review on it. So, without further ado, here is my trip back to University of Hertfordshire, 10 years on. Disclaimer notice, though, there is swearing in this video. Row the VT, Monty. Here we go again. Everyone.
Monty, we've moved. Come check.
Okay.
So welcome back to the commentary box.
Sorry, I was just going to say that was my trip to Hertfordshire. We'll talk about that more in a few minutes' time. But for now, we have our race winner, guys.
Yes, we do. And congratulations to Queen Mary, a race winner in our first ever endurance race in the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. How are you feeling after that?
Oh, I made that very hard for myself, I can't lie, especially in the last half of a race when the rain came. I mean, I had good pace. I was able to get past Warren in the dry stint, but when the rain came, it was absolute hell, I can't lie. Like, the car felt like it had no grip, but I think it was the same for everyone else, and Hull's pace was absolutely unbelievable in the wet, but luckily I was just able to hold my nerve and keep it home and dry. So yeah, very happy with that.
Were you given like tips on when the rain was going to come throughout? Because obviously you didn't know about the weather going into this as well. So were there people in your ear telling you when the rain was going to come, or?
No. I mean, the only forecast that we were given for this race was just like a very rough forecast, like a few days ago. Apart from that, we knew nothing about like what minute the rain would come. So it was more just a case of just reacting to it when it actually happened. And for this track, it was pretty easy because the track got wet pretty quickly. So whenever it starts raining, you just pit on that lap. So it was a pretty simple pit process. But yeah, the rain came down so heavy this race though, because I think compared to like what we saw on the practice server, for lap times right at the end were like 10 seconds slower than the slowest lap times on the practice server. So it was quite a bit heavier than what we've practiced for. So I think that's why it was very hectic.
Yeah, because it didn't look that hectic for you, but I said before we got you on air that you probably would have found it even more hectic. So I was right there. I was right there. It did look to us in the commentary box when we were watching, but from what you just said, it definitely looked a bit nervous for you. 25 minutes is usually what we do in the Formula Student Sim Racing series. How was the difference between the 1 hour race, of course, with the weather conditions and obviously the 12 times progression? How was it mentally for you preparing for the 1 hour race instead of the 25-minute race that you're used to?
Honestly, it was no different really. Like, I actually prefer longer races. So for me, I actually felt better. I felt better going into this one because I knew that, especially like over Warren, of course, before this race, my mindset was just like, just keep it in seconds since Warren qualified about nearly half a second ahead of me. So I wasn't actually expecting him to drop off that hard, especially in the wet. I don't actually know what happened to him. That seems really strange how slow he was. But yeah, honestly, in terms of like my mindset going into it, I just was thinking about just like keeping it calm, keeping it clean, hopefully just aiming for like a top 2. But yeah, it turned out quite a lot better than that. So yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, and obviously when it came to the setups as well, do you think that made a difference between you being quicker than anyone else? Did you go for a fully wet setup, or was it a balance between both the dry and the wet?
I didn't really think about like I wasn't thinking about like the wet weather when I was doing the setup. I was just making it so it was fast as possible in the dry, and whatever came in the wet, I would just deal with it when it came. So I assume that maybe Hull used a wet setup since they were absolutely flying in the wet. And that was probably that completely scared me when I saw them getting past Warren, because at that point when it got past Warren, we still had like 25 minutes of the race left to go. So it was a very long race for me at that point. I was just counting down for laps.
Because
I passed Dylan Warren. I'm invincible. Someone else has passed Dylan Warren. Oh God.
I must say.
Sorry, Giles, carry on.
On the subject of Mr. Warren from York, I've been having a gander at the general chat over on Discord. There's not a lot to suggest where the performance went. I can just say, quote, I was losing a second down the straight every lap to people in the same car as me because my car kept bouncing around. That's all I can suggest as to where the performance went. I don't have an answer, is the honest truth.
Might be due to the setup, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, like, from what I saw, like in the dry, his straight line speed was pretty normal. Like it was as expected, since the McLaren was quite a bit faster in a straight line compared to the BMW. So, I mean, that seemed fine. It was mainly just in the wet. I mean, of course, I got past him pretty early in the wet, so I didn't really spend much time around him. I wasn't really looking at my timing screen to see like how fast he was going. So honestly, I don't really know. I've got no clue what happened to him in the wet. But
what we do know is what happened to you, and you won. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
And you have given your teammates pole position for the second race. So what's the plan for this now? Keep out the front?
I mean, ideally,
pressure now.
of course,
No pressure now.
it's a different like weather forecast, different strategy. So we've sort of got to start from square one here and sort of come back and then reevaluate what we know about the rain, and yeah, try. I don't want to get too ambitious early on because, of course, I already had quite a hard time trying to win that. So it could also be very hard in the second race. We don't know. So
Who
need
is
to say-
racing in the second race for you?
Toto will be racing for us.
Ah.
So
Yeah. Isn't he busy in wherever it is this week, Bahrain? Or different Toto?
Jeddah.
Oh, Jeddah. There we go.
That was last week, Giles.
oh, it passed over my head for a second. Yeah.
My
sorry.
joke would help if I actually got where they are this week right, so that's on me.
Yeah.
There's a reason that I'm not a comedian. I can only apologise.
Yeah, what can you do? Yeah.
Well, you're bold, you can't drive particularly well. Just talk about it instead. Thank you ever so much, Daniel. That was an impeccable drive, and big up to Queen Mary for their love of you on the chats. They've done rather a lot of commenting on the chat for obvious reasons. A great result.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. So happy for the team. I feel like it took quite a bit longer than we wanted to get a win this season. We had a few chances in a few rounds before, but we were never able to quite capitalize on a few chances. So I think to finally get a win right in the last round, in the last online round, is really nice.
Wonderful stuff. Well, thank you ever so much for joining us in the commentary box. You got any more questions, Jess?
No, nothing for me, thank you.
Wonderful stuff. Daniel, congratulations. I will let you get back to your team because I imagine there's some conversations to be had about what to do going forward because you're about to do it all again. So very best of luck to Queen Mary and the rest of the teams in a few moments. To fill those moments for you watching us at home, I believe we've got another VT lined up. So, as they always say on the real broadcasts, roll VT.
My name's Evan Park. I'm the head of team development and I am the sim racing captain for USM. Over the past 2 years, I've competed in the engineering challenge for the team, with this year taking over the captaincy of it. We've had great success over the past 2 seasons with the aim of trying to knock UGR off the top spot for at least one round. The skills and experience I've gained from competing in the engineering challenge have made me a much better trackside engineer, as it offered me a skill that's rare in Formula student of working with drivers regularly and developing testing sessions.
I'm Adam Robertson and I'm the team principal of USM. It's been alright. I'll be honest, I don't do much in terms of thinking. I sort of just let Evan tell me what to do and then I try and keep out the wall. I think highlight so far this season's probably been the photo finish we had with Surtees in round 4. My personal low light would be binning it in Kailami while on stream and then crashing into a wall.
Has someone else gone off? Giles, there's been carnage after carnage after carnage.
That was, a bit embarrassing. But anyway, I've had a good time.
My name is Dave Webster. I'm a vehicle performance and suspension engineer, and I help with the engineering challenge. So being part of the engineering challenge team has allowed me to practice data analysis skills, as well as obtaining feedback from my driver of how a car feels, which I can then use in the real testing for our car.
Hi, I'm Christopher Campion. My role within USM is the head of composite manufacture, and I am one of the drivers for the sim racing team. I think we started the season quite well. We had a few strong qualifying positions, but we had some unfortunate incidents on track which led to some disappointing finishes. However, I think the team doing the engineering challenges have done really well. I think the 4th place was really good, and I hope we continue to do as well.
My name is Callum Porter. I'm the head of suspension, and I'm a driver in our sim racing series this year. I've enjoyed being part of the sim racing series this year, working on car setup, working with the team, doing laps. It's good fun.
It's been really rewarding, I'd say. We've made a lot of progress in terms of how we do things in admin. We've put a lot of tools in place to make it easier to run the team in future years. And just seeing the work going on around in the team has been really impressive. And the system heads particularly have done a great job.
You, come, follow me. Stand there.
Getting abused as usual in his team.
No, I don't abuse you guys that much.
Are you sure about that?
That was perfect. Okay.
What?
FSM interview questions. Okay?
Kawasaki, Gago, Greco, stripper.
How was the season in 3 words?
Better than expected.
Better than expected.
Yeah.
Okay. What has been your favourite race so far?
I think. I mean, like round 5 was pretty. Well, for me, round 5 was good because I got a good result. Yeah.
I did not do that one.
What track would you love to race on in real life?
I don't know.
Not Sydney Motorsport Park.
Spa or something.
Yeah, Spa. Or like Watkins Glen.
Do you guys have any pre-race rituals?
Nah.
Breathe, mostly.
Meditate?
I'd like close my eyes, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Do that a couple of times. Yeah. Just beat everyone. Easy.
Okay, brilliant. What are the goals for this season for you guys?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just to win the championship.
Yeah, easy, right?
Yeah.
If you get anything less than Q2, I'm just not coming back next year.
You're not coming back next year anyway.
You don't need to know that.
Who is the most competitive between you two?
Like, who gets the most mad when stuff goes wrong?
Yeah.
I feel like you don't really like.
No.
Yeah.
But like internally, I'm competitive, but like I just don't.
Yeah, we keep it chill. Mary, we keep it chill.
Who is most likely to send it on the first lap?
Oh, me.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Round 4, on round the outside, completely missing turn 2.
It's fine. Yeah, sometimes if I just decide I want to overtake someone, I just send it.
Who is most likely to forget to join the race?
I've done that in year 1.
Wait, you forgot.
You don't have to press drive. I forgot to press drive.
No
so I
way.
stuck with this.
Yeah. Who is most likely to get pole? Yeah, we know. Golden boy. Okay, final question. Why do you love QMFS?
Keep it chill.
No, you're meant to say something like TP's great. I don't know.
TP's alright.
Huh?
She's filming. Do you want a serious answer? I wouldn't come to uni if it wasn't for QMFS.
Okay, yeah. That's what we want. Okay, that is the interview. Thank you, guys.
And we're back
Well.
in the commentary box. That was a wonderful video from, oddly enough, our race winners. Couldn't have timed that better. They finally sent us a video to play on the race that they won. Very well done to Daniel from Queen Mary. Toto, you also saw him in that VT. He'll be taking the next stint behind the wheel for Queen Mary. And we finally got to put a face to the name for Anastasia, who is a regular in the comments. So big up Anastasia as well. Hi, Anastasia. Meanwhile, we've been doing our own rendition of the SpongeBob theme for reasons. And...
With the mice of sanity.
Well, yes. I mean, put it this way, I'm somewhat absorbent because my back is currently replicating Niagara Falls, and we've got another hour to go. So, thank goodness it's not smell-o-vision. What are we expecting? You're welcome. What are we expecting for the next round, guys? More of the same or something a bit quieter?
Well, we've done day to night. We're now doing night to day, and I have no idea what to expect with the weather. So,
yeah, it's going to be unpredictability. That's what I think. They're not going to know if it's going to dry off or it's going to stay wet. We're as clueless as the people that are racing. So this is the beauty of it, and it's going to come down to gut feeling. And the race was won by strategy and pure pace alone earlier on. I think we could see the same here. And Toto has got a tough task to make sure he can keep his car in the lead for the entire race. Well, up until the checkered flag, of course, so they could get another win. So we'll see what happens.
Got to keep it in a straight line, and easier said than done. Some of the top drivers have been struggling with that one. I was looking through the chat earlier whilst we were playing those VTs for you. Excuse me, I got hiccups. I'm that excited.
Bless you.
And it was quite interesting to read. So Aaron Farmer, as we were saying, as we were predicting in the commentary box, his tyres just died come the end. And it was only by the grace of God that he managed to finish in 4th, because he should have been in 6th. And then there was some drama towards the end.
Things happened.
Well, yes, Dylan, by his own admission, couldn't hold it and apologised to whoever he punted off during that scenario. So there was some, graciousness going on in the comments. Meanwhile, my favourite comment of the night comes from McScottish, who said, I was told to expect rain. I didn't expect an insert classic Scottish bad word, monsoon. So I think the teams were drowned as opposed to getting a light shower as they were expecting. Meanwhile, Anastasia is saying, hello there, Giles. Hello, Anastasia. Do we have to say Anastasia every time, or can we just say Anna? I know some people abbreviate it, some people don't. But Monty's looking very confused there. Well, have I said the wrong thing?
I mean, if she's put Anastasia as her name on the comments, then I think she would like to be identified.
Then that's how she would like to be said. Yeah.
Oh, your name's Giles. I'm going to call you G from now on. Hey, G, how are you doing?
Some people do. I've also had Gilo after the cricketer Andrew Giles.
I've had Jessie at one point, and some people calling me Jessica, and I hate being called that. But I know people are going to call me that in the comments or at Silverstone. So
I could say best TP ever, Giles says. You could say best TP ever, Giles says Anastasia. That would be bias. Yes, potentially. Potentially. You might say that. I couldn't possibly comment. How's that? Right. Hey. Not long to go until we're back out on track, Monty. What's the rest of the evening looking like?
Yeah, so we've basically got another hour of fun to go. We have just connected to the server. I'm just waiting for the grids to get formed. So that gives us a few more minutes to talk about other FS news. So what would you like to talk about, Giles? Was there anything else to announce?
I'll tell you what I would like to talk about is the fact that a couple of teams are ahead of going to Silverstone. They've got some fundraisers going, and we want to give shout-outs to all the teams. We want to give equal opportunities to every team we can here on Formula Student News. So we've spotted a couple, we've spoken to a couple. So as a result, we'd just like to say that if you are watching this and fancy dipping your hand into your pocket to help get Southampton or Exeter to Silverstone this year, then both teams have got fundraisers available on their social media. Head over to Instagram for both Southampton and for Exeter. You can then find links to their fundraisers and you can donate if you wish. And I know for a fact that both of them will be looking for sponsors, will be looking to make deals with sponsors to get them the necessary financial resources to get to Silverstone. We want as many teams as we can at Silverstone, and we would especially love it to have as many British teams at Silverstone. So if anybody has any spare cash going, which I appreciate is incredibly limited in the current financial climate that we're in, but if you've got it and you wish to support these teams, then now is the time to do so.
Absolutely. We want to see as many teams there as possible. It's a great education for them to be able to turn that theory into practice. And as we keep on saying, Formula Student, you go to karting and your junior formulas to go and find the next Lewis Hamilton. You come to Formula Students to come and find your next Adrian Newey. So we want to be able to see as many of them get that opportunity to, show the world what they're worth.
They're worth a lot to us because they provide a great deal of entertainment, and there's plenty more to come. It's got another hour's worth of racing on the way for you.
Especially when they allow me to come to Hertfordshire as well. So I forgot to just follow up on that video before, but I just want to say a huge thank you to the team publicly for allowing me to come back. So much has changed in the last 10 years, as you could probably see from my facial reactions in that video of just how much change there was. And it was also great to catch up with my old lecturer, Dr. Howard Ash. He marked my old thesis, my final year project, so it was nice to see that he's still there. Howard Ash has been very influential in Formula Student from the very beginning. He was a competitor in the first ever competition back in 1998, so it's great to see nearly 30 years on that he's still sharing his knowledge with the next generation as well. So a huge thank you, Dr. Howard Ash, and to Hertfordshire for allowing me to come back and see what's changed in 10 years.
He's a very cool dude. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few days after you went over there to film the next edition of the Formula Student podcast, which should be out online very soon. So if you haven't already, on YouTube, search up Formula Student Online, and you can find plenty of episodes of it already, and we'll be over at the University of Hertfordshire for the next edition. So head online now. Meanwhile, we're beginning to get to grips with what the lineup looks like. If you've forgotten, since we were last here about... It feels like 5 minutes ago.
To be fair, Giles, there will be a few changes because one driver entry. So anyone who's doing a single driver entry tonight, they won't be in their
like
grid
position.
Scottish. They'll be moved to the back of the grid. So it has moved things slightly, but for all intents and purposes, what's the grid looking like, Giles and Jess?
Jess, do you want to take us through this one?
Yeah, might as well. So Queen Mary, they won race 1, so they'll be starting this race on pole position with Toto behind the wheel. Hole A will be starting in at 2nd. College Dublin will be starting in 3rd with Bolton in 4th. Southampton will be starting in 5th. 5th, we've got Leicester starting in 6th, Hertfordshire B starting in 7th, Glasgow A team starting in 8th, Vigo starting in 9th, we've got USM starting in 10th, we've got UCLM starting in 11th, Harriet Watt starting in 12th place, York B starting in 13th place, De Montfort starting in 14th, we've got Glasgow B team starting in 15th, Hong Kong Polytechnic starting in 16th, Cardiff B team starting in 17th, Queen's University Belfast starting in 18th. We've got our one driver entries up next, so that's why they're lower down. That's probably why you were expecting certain teams to be up higher, but they're not. So we've got Greenwich in 19th, Aberdeen in 20th, and I think we've also got Glasgow Caledonian in 21st, Cardiff A in 22nd, and then we've got Hertfordshire A in 23rd, and then we've got York A in 24th. So those are your one driver entries from P19 as well. It'll be interesting to see how they can handle being from the back of the grid, in particular Cardiff and York A, that were battling with each other for the last bit of the race. Should we get our predictions?
I smell tacticians here. Warren at the back, so they're going to try and go for a big result and get the bonus point for highest climber as well. That's my call. That's my call as to why we're seeing.
So that's why he raced in race 1, because it was a one driver entry.
Interesting. I'm smelling a drop round potential here, possibly as well. But that might
they did better than Charlotte here, so they have already done better than Charlotte. So
right.
No, I'm sticking with mine. They're going for broke. They're purposely starting at the back here so they can try and get the extra points for highest climber.
So you're going with York A?
Why not?
Well,
I'm gonna go. Oh, this is a tough one. Oh, I'm gonna go with College Dublin in 3rd for the win, and then Queen Mary 2nd.
I'm going nowhere. I'm going to stay right where I am, and I'm not going to try and read a crystal ball.
Because you don't jinx people. That's why.
Well, I try and avoid it because, you know, otherwise I end up getting messages from certain teams. One of whom called me Welsh. I go to a Welsh university, but I'm not Welsh. I am English. I'm half Scottish, oddly enough.
You're from Somerset, aren't you, Giles?
I am indeed from Somerset, down in the West Country. If anybody has recommendations as to where to go as a half Scotsman in Edinburgh and Glasgow, do let me know. I'll be up there in a couple of weeks. I need a week off.
Here we go. We're about 5 red lights.
We've got an hour to go. We've got an hour on now. As here come the lights for the second race of tonight. Round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. GT4s. Round Margello. The revs go up. The lights go out. Here are the 6 lights. Who's going to get the best start off the line? We're away racing again for the second time tonight. And that is an absolutely dramatic start for everybody involved, and just about managing to avoid clashing with anybody, but it's in the dark and it's in the wet and it's very difficult. And that is a straight off there. Who was that down? And that is Hull A-Team, punted off by what looked to me to be Queen Mary, and this is a huge crash out of the gate, and this is going to put the cat right amongst the pigeons.
You were saying, Monty?
I said everything.
I'm just going to bear with, just so we can try and let everyone settle in for a second, because this has completely changed the running order as a result of a crash that I can't pinpoint the start of, but as you'll have been able to see on your screens, played a huge amount of drama into the hands of all the drivers on track. So as things stand, Jess may well have called it, because look who's in the lead. It's University College Dublin leading University of Leicester, who are in 2nd. In 3rd, it's Vigo. Southampton, they're up into 3rd. De Montfort, they're in 5th. A lot of these
Hertfordshire B.
A lot of these teams were not at the front when the lights went out. That's how big this crash was on lap 1 of race 2 of round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. Bolton in 7th, Harriet Watt in 8th, University of Strathclyde in 9th, in 10th it's York A. Dylan
From
Warren.
last on the grid, on the grid to 10th and half a lap.
And look at his pace as well.
Make
He's
that
already
9th.
getting
Make
past
that
one
9th.
car.
This is unbelievable stuff. Okay, he really is on it for the highest climber. And there goes Harriet Watt, just running scared from the shadow of York A. And meanwhile, the University of Glasgow are in 14th. Queen Mary, they won race 1. They were in pole position. There was a big old crash And
Oh,
that's
there's another
Queen Mary
crash
having to
again.
navigate through Hertfordshire's A team that have been punted off there. Behind Queen Mary is Glasgow Caledonian, it's Hong Kong Polytechnic, Cardiff's B team up into 17th, Aberdeen in 18th, Hertfordshire's A team down into 19th, Hull's A team in 20th. What on earth happened there?
I think quite a lot happened. I think we would need like a touchpad to analyse all of that, but it's hard to start in the wet. We saw, obviously, in the first race it started in the dry. It started in the wet this time, and it just made things even more difficult, as we're seeing pit stops, I believe, from people that have got damage, so they're coming out there. Or was it a drive-through? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but here
Pit have come out of the pits in 19th position. I do think, Jess, that was for damage.
Yeah, that was for damage.
I tell you what, we might have to get Gusty, our resident weatherman, to have a look at what's going on in the Discord chat. That might give us some answers as to what on earth happened there. James, if you're listening, we could do with a report from the pit lane, so to speak, because we'd be very intrigued to know what has completely shaken up the running order, because currently leading this race with 56 minutes to go, it's University College Dublin. And behind them, keeping it fairly close, under a second, it's University of Leicester. And rounding out the top three in another BMW from Spain, it is Vigo. Southampton will be far happier with the current result. They're up into 4th position with the Motford rounding out the top 5. You're looking at Queen Mary Formula Student at the moment. They started out in pole. They had a great start there for them. They've gone through now on York A. That's Queen Mary past Dylan Warren. They were duking it out earlier. Warren didn't seem to have the knack like usual. We're wondering about whether they were going to go for highest climber, but I'm not sure now. They seem to have settled into 11th position, which is far lower than where we usually see them. Coming up in behind them is UCLM. They are really putting on the pressure on Dylan Warren. The game is very much afoot. What have we got, Monty?
Completely topsy-turvy. I think everyone who starts in the front half are now in the bottom half. Those in the bottom half are in the front half.
Apart from College Dublin.
Apart from College Dublin, who left that all unscathed. The biggest benefactors by far, though, Leicester. But we still have 55 minutes of racing to go. So I don't want to consider anything a done deal, because who knows what else we're going to see.
We've got York being held up. Yeah, that's interesting. Queen Mary were being very much held up by York's B team, with York's A team behind Queen Mary. Is there team tactics going on there? Quite possibly. We know for a fact that Queen Mary will definitely be faster than York's B team. York's A team going through on their B team with no problems whatsoever, as one would expect. And that puts York A up into 11th, having started at the back. UCLM are coming out of the pits. They will lose positions here as a result of that. They're entering the track into approximately 16th or 17th position, depending on how quickly they get back onto the racing line. There's York B in 10th, and you've got York A. Really
Let's have a moment.
Yes, again. They have another moment. They're into the gravel trap. Jess, what is going on?
I think I did see in the Discord chat that he was complaining about the aquaplaning, so maybe he was struggling in the wet anyway as well, and struggling to keep the car under control. I really, for his sake, he's got to hope that the track dries out a little bit, but so he can actually make some positions, or maybe he's waiting for the track to dry out. But you can see the gap between the likes of 7th place all the way down to 14th. It's really massive that they got to get a move on ASAP. This may come down to strategy. It may not even dry up at all. It may stay like this. So they've got to get into that rhythm quite fast, and it is going to get lighter and lighter as the race goes on, as we're seeing more moves being made in the background of the two Glasgow universities of Glasgow A and Glasgow Caledonian. Also Scottish. He's also had a good start as well. He's up to 10th, and he at the moment could look like he could get highest climber as well if he keeps up as well. That Chevrolet loves these wet conditions.
The Chevy, as I was saying earlier, it's so heavy, the rain can't touch it. And as a result, just through having fun, look, Scottish might be on for a fairly decent set of points here.
Yeah, I think he does, and I don't think he was expecting it right now, because, again, quite a lot of people are busy at the moment. That's why we have quite a few one-driver entries. De Montfort in P5 is something we weren't expecting on our bingo card this evening, but they are, as they're up into 4th place. Hertfordshire B team they've been fighting with as well. We've got them going side by side in towards T1. Can Hertfordshire B take the advantage? We'll have to wait and see. They're 3 tenths quicker than De Montfort at the moment, but this is where the overtake is going to happen in towards turn 1. Who's going to get the straight line speed of dreams here in these wet conditions? We also got Harriet Watt and Queen Mary fighting for 8th spot. No, we're not. Harriet Watt's in the pits, Giles.
Harriet Watt down into the pits, and as a result dropping positions rapidly as through go Hong Kong Polytechnic and UCLM and University of Glasgow's A team. Your leaders are University College Dublin. University of Leicester are up in second. Their team members shouting "Stop the count" in the comments. Their official YouTube channel wasn't live, set it back to live, and all of a sudden the team are in second. They're asking questions. How on earth are we in second place? I'll be honest, we'd like the answer to that as well. There was a massive crash on the first lap, and all of a sudden those who are at the back shall be first, and those who are first shall be last. Everything's happened. We put the running order into a blender, and this is the cocktail of results that we've got out of it. Bolton under pressure from Southampton. Southampton were up in 4th at one point. Bolton putting on the pressure on Southampton. They were up in 4th. They're beginning to fall away now as Bolton apply the pressure. Bolton, bear in mind, a very respectable team here in the sim racing, not to be sniffed at, certainly not if you're Southampton. And meanwhile, Queen Mary are behind them in 8th. So they've got plenty of hunting to do. The rain, it keeps coming. Dawn will be approaching at some point, but will it dry out is the question. Plenty more action to come, so stay with us here in the commentary box. Here on YouTube, get your comments coming in. Where are you watching from? Who are you supporting? Going round on the wide are Bolton on Southampton, and they get ahead. That is a fantastic move round the outside for Bolton on Southampton. That puts them just about into 6th position, but Southampton will not give up without a fight. We know they don't. But I must say, Southampton up in 4th a moment ago, down into 7th now. Are their tyres beginning to fall away after only 10 minutes?
Maybe. We don't know at this stage, Charles, and we know that anything can happen right now, as University of Leicester has found some really brilliant time on College Dublin. Vigo as well in 3rd could gain into this as well. We'll have to wait and see, but this is what we've seen in the first race, but in the dry. Two teams fighting for the lead at this moment of time and trying to take advantage of these conditions so far. And it's getting a bit lighter at the moment, which is why they're not as sliding or aquaplaning as much as we saw at the end of race 2 and race 1 at the start of race 2. As we got Hertfordshire B team trying to get past someone, and then we also got Vigo in this. Well, no, it's Vigo getting past Hertfordshire B. Never mind. Then we got De Montfort in there as well. Glasgow A getting past Hong Kong Polytechnic. College Dublin is responding to the pressure. He's gained a full second on Leicester.
Probably exciting stuff with teams that we're not usually used to seeing in the top end. One team we are used to seeing in the top end, the Queen Mary, they're down in 8th. They have clawed their way back up after that drama, but meanwhile, the timing board is having a fit, and I'm not quite
It's not
sure
liking us.
Who's placed where. What I will say is something that you've mentioned there, Jess, is that the rain is beginning to lighten somewhat. And I'm just keeping an eye on the timing board and the tyre choices, because surely at some point we're going to start seeing...
There's hardly any spray, Giles.
Exactly, and we're going to start seeing teams dive into the pits and swap on to slicks, or potentially, I don't know whether mediums are an option here, but I've got the funny feeling in the next 15 minutes or so you might well see some pit stops if the rain keeps lightening the way that it is. University College Dublin, your race leaders. University of Leicester in 2nd. Hull's Hertfordshire's B team. Shock of all shocks, they're in 3rd. De Montfort are in 4th, and in 5th it is Vigo. As things stand, you're on board at the moment with the University of Strathclyde, who have invited me to Strathclyde when I'm up in Scotland. I don't know where Strathclyde actually is, but that's because my geography supports. But they are trying to get through on York A and York B, flashing their lights. Both teams side by side, blocking Strathclyde. That's a little cheeky, and then all of a sudden leading them into the back end of Cardiff. I'm not entirely convinced about this interplay between York A and York B, because it's not entirely cricket, shall we say. Strathclyde, though, undeterred as York B go wide. York A slipping and sliding through the corner, and that Strathclyde through on York B. Only York A to contend with now, closing that gap up are the team from Scotland on the Northerners, onto the start-finish straight. We know this is an ideal overtaking location. They're side by side. Are the team from Scotland, and through they go on not only York, but Hertfordshire's A-team as well. A double overtake near enough for Strathclyde, and that is a brilliant move for the team from Scotland. I say double move, Hertfordshire's ahead of them, but not by much. Stick around, and meanwhile going side by side there are York A and York B. York B up on York A. York A struggling in the wet. Queen's University Belfast getting into the melee as well, and they go through on the pair of them because Strathclyde are busy having their rear ends tapped by York B. Queen's University Belfast thinking, I'm sticking out of this drama, bye lads, and they're away. Queen's University Belfast. And that puts them up into 11th. I got a funny feeling Strathclyde are not happy, but do you know who else isn't happy? Is York B flashing their lights at their teammates in York A. What's going on?
So maybe they're not working together.
Well, clearly not if they're flashing their lights at one another. Meanwhile, Southampton are side by side with Vigo. Southampton got the inside line for 5th, but Vigo closed them down in spectacular fashion with the superior cornering of the BMW as opposed to the McLaren of Southampton. The Southampton have got that straight line speed, and you can see it being put to best use now as they close right in on the back end of Vigo, going round the outside. But Vigo, here comes the sunlight. That is dazzling to say the least. The sun's on the approach now, and through go Southampton on Vigo just about. Is that the sun or is that a spotlight? What on earth is that bright light to the left of the drivers there?
I have no idea, but we do know that the sunrise is meant to be coming soon with the 12 times progression. So, and the sun could blind you around Magellan. It's an absolute nightmare. So they got to keep an eye on their weather radars and know when it's coming, because if they can't see what's going on in front of them, it's going to cause absolute mayhem. But what's not causing mayhem is who is in the lead. College Dublin, 4.9, now 5 seconds ahead of the University of Leicester. Then we got Hertfordshire B in 3rd. Then we got De Montfort in 4th. And then we got Southampton and Vigo in 6th spot. I believe Queen Mary is fighting with Bolton for P7 on the road. Same with the likes of Aberdeen, who could be in a speed of theirs a few seconds down the road. So here is Bolton on the back of Queen Mary. Queen Mary got caught up in the mare earlier on after starting pole position. But to be fair, Giles, it's a great recovery from Queen Mary to still be in the top 10 even after that instant in lap 1.
They've done very well to recover from that. My only question would be, have they sustained any damage? Because I wasn't expecting to see them duking it out with Bolton. And I would have thought they would have progressed a little higher now. But then again, the gap between them and Vigo, the next place car ahead of Queen Mary, is 5 seconds ahead. So it will take a little time to reel them in if they can. And they are under pressure for the team from Bolton. University College Dublin have opened that gap up at the front to nearly 7 seconds. That is an impressive lead for a team that potentially weren't expected to be quite up there as much as they are, certainly, but they're putting it to good use. Meanwhile, here is UCLM versus Hong Kong Polytechnic, the team from UCLM getting very, very close to the back end of Hong Kong. These teams have been duking it out throughout the evening. This is not an unusual competition between these two. And leaving the gap open a little bit there were Hong Kong, but UCLM not close enough to make best use of that inside line. Meanwhile, Aberdeen overtaken by Queen's University Belfast. Queen's University Belfast and Aberdeen both up into the top 10 now, having got through on Hertfordshire's A-team. And that means that those two are going to be sticking together through the pack. Queen Mary ahead of them, and Bolton, of course. So all of a sudden, all of these teams are going to start coming together in one way or another. Hopefully not physically, we'll see. Meanwhile, there's, I say not physically, this could be physical. Queen's University Belfast going in on the inside of Bolton, and they go through their side by side onto the start finish straight. Bolton have got the inside line, which is what you want, but you can go around the outside of turn 1. Bolton and Aberdeen now duking it out here. Bolton are in 8th position. They've got the inside line. There's no worries there. They close the door on Aberdeen, and that is Aberdeen sweeping through on the inside, getting the switch back, coming through on Aberdeen.
Oh, that light is
Bolton.
Blind.
This is an intense moment for all teams involved. As Jess was saying there, half blinded by the spotlight. Aberdeen are into 8th. Queen's University Belfast go through on Bolton. That's Bolton relegated down into 10th with very little in the way of a reply.
Yeah, down into 10th place. Not ideal for them. So maybe those intermediate conditions not suiting that car at all. They're maybe going to wait until it's dry. Now, they got to keep an eye on the track, because usually that's a pure indication as to when the rain is going to stop. There is a bit of rain, not much though, but it's definitely less heavy than it was at the start of this race, which makes things a little bit easier for all the drivers. Vigo has passed Queen Mary up into 6th place. Their race has gone brilliantly so far. And we also got Queen's University Belfast, who's having a decent race. Same with Scottish. Currently at the moment, gap now between P1 and P2 is now increased to 9.1 seconds. College Dublin is doing well in the wet, but are they going to translate that if it dries up later on? You never know. It may start to stay like this for the entirety of the race. We don't know. The only people that do know are the drivers, who have a little bit of a weather radar. They were told roughly the weather forecast at the start, but they weren't told when it was going to come at all. So they don't know when it was going to rain. They don't know if it's going to dry up at all. All they do know is, well, expect the unexpected.
I think we've had the unexpected, or at least we've had our fair share of the unexpected. Whether or not we get any more, who's to say? But Queen Mary trying to go through on Vigo, I think, on the start-finish straights. Queen Mary on a Queen's University Belfast on an absolute charge down the start-finish straight, out dragging the Spaniards for Vigo, and they take 6th position. The question is, can they hang on to it? You can see the headlights on the inside line for Vigo. They close them down, do Queen's University Belfast, and that is a solid move for the team from Ireland. Bolton, meanwhile, have made a different move altogether. They've put themselves into the pits. The question I want to know is, what tyre set are they going to select?
It's too early for dries. It's too early for dries, Giles. It's still chucking it down in the pits. If they go for dries, it's game over.
Jess has spoken. Chances are they'll go for the wets. That's Queen Mary Formula student duking it out with Vigo now following suit, as Queen's University Belfast did, slipping and sliding, trying to find a way through. They don't have the best cornering out of the two cars there, and they've got a back end full of Aberdeen to Queen Mary, so the pressure really is on to get through on Vigo for Queen Mary. Queen Mary determined to get back up to where they were. They go through on the outside, I should say, trying to switch back in, but Vigo have got the inside line, and they do swap paint, and they just about managed to hold the road. Do the two teams. Queen Mary getting a nose ahead of Vigo, and Vigo have the inside line, and all the while Aberdeen rubbing their hands together in the background. In the Chevy is Scottish, just waiting to pounce and come past the two drivers, but that is Queen Mary solidly up into 7th, and that is Vigo now under pressure from Aberdeen as they go side by side. Vigo have got the inside line yet again, but
Bolt is on dries.
What have you said there, Jess?
Bolt is on dries.
Wow.
And can he go on board? Oh, it's still raining.
It still is raining. I did wonder whether they would, but as you've said there yourself, Jess, you don't think that's a very good idea?
No, unless there's a graphical glitch, which I hope it isn't, but they don't seem to be struggling that much. We'll see if they go through the next corner. Oh, they're sliding. No, it is definitely not dry. You can tell by the way that their car is handling at the moment.
Well, not handling as the case may be. I believe that was a rapid case of understeer.
Yes.
Meanwhile, back up front, we're back into the midst of Queen Mary, Southampton. De Montfort have suddenly jumped into 4th.
They were in 4th.
Okay, the timing screen was moving about so we could see what was going on down to the further back end of it. Fair enough, cool. Okay, so Bolton had made a rather interesting decision and gone on to dries in the middle of a rainstorm. Whole Hertfordshire's B team settling into 3rd, but De Montfort are hunting them down, and then there's a whole train of cars coming through behind them. So at the moment, Hertfordshire are the cork in the bottle. Can they hold on? Can the B team hold on to this unprecedented top 3 position as a result of a monumental pile-up in the first lap? Queen's University Belfast on the approach to Southampton now. Southampton will know they're there. They're going to get to know it even more so now. They are so unbelievably close and diving down the inside. Go Queen's University Belfast for a very brave and aggressive move that just manages to get them up into 5th. And that is the Irish up into 5th and pulling away from Southampton, who just do not have the ability to keep up in the corners. And by the time they get onto a straight, Queen's University Belfast are too far away to reel back in the McLaren. Queen's University Belfast in the BMW up into 5th.
Giles, it's fascinating to see the changing conditions here. It's starting to dry out, and obviously Queen's University Belfast, they've got a setup perfect for these kind of damp intermediate conditions. We'll be keeping a close eye on Bolton with their risky gamble on the slicks. I've just noted that James has joined us in the channel. What's your thoughts, James? Is this inspired choice by them? Have they gone a bit too early? What's the forecast looking like?
Well, the forecast isn't looking too bad at the moment. We are noticing the clouds are starting to clear up a bit in the sky, and the sun's starting to come out, so it might even get a little bit warmer.
Oh yes, there's daylight turning up now. There is daylight. I can see the clouds in the sky, so yes, that's going to help dry things up.
Visibility in the trees.
What was it that Phil Collins once said? I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Well, there we are. We can feel it here in the commentary box.
Yes.
The sun is on the way. The dry potentially on the way as well. The teams looking over their shoulders and looking at the weather forecast simultaneously, trying to decide what tyres to switch onto. James, if you were in these teams' positions right now, if you were behind the wheel, where would you be? In the pit lane or out on track?
I wouldn't want to give away too much now, but I would say make your choice when you want to. You know, just feel it out. Go for your gut instinct on this one.
That's what I would do. And that is what the Yorkshire B team has gone and done. They've gone into the pits as well, even though it's still chucking it down. But in some situations, even if you do pit now and it's still wet, a lap later it could be dry. It could clear up in an instant. So let's just try that they make the same. They don't make the same mistake as Bolton, but you can see Bolton's definitely made the wrong decision. Look at that.
Saying, Jess, it could be dry, but it's not, and that is not helping Bolton in any way, shape or form as the team try to stumble their way back towards the front of the pack. Meanwhile, going round the outside are Queen's University Belfast on De Montfort as they try and get through there, but no hope, no luck I should say. Plenty of hope. Not a lot of luck for the team from Ireland just at the moment, although then again that might be about to change as they look to the inside on De Montfort. De Montfort going wide through that corner, and there is the luck of the Irish. Queen's University Belfast passing De Montfort very cleanly, and that puts themselves into 4th position, but they go into the pits. They are pitting now. Queen's University Belfast, you've been on an absolute stormer of a drive. And
I'm loving those gambles.
As the sun begins to rise, what are they going to choose, Jess? The rain does look to be getting a bit lighter.
It does look a bit lighter, but I'm loving the different strategies. I think that they've been following James's advice of going for their gut instinct. It may not work in the long run, but at least their tyres will be cold instead of hot. So in a way, they're making the wrong decision in these conditions. May not be too bad as the track begins to dry up, and obviously it is dawn coming up as well. You could see that the night is pretty much almost gone, and you can see it's getting cloudy at the moment, but here comes Hole A battling with Vigo, and Hole A with the very striking livery that does look very cool, to be fair. Hole A is going to use their straight line speed to their advantage on Vigo, and they're going to try and cut and do the switchback of dreams here. If he can make it work, then that'll be amazing. That almost made it work, but there was a bit of contact there as Vigo goes past.
Yes, not for the first time this evening. We've seen a hole get bashed into the door. That's kind of what triggered the first lap melee, and they seem to be...
Yes.
I think they must have a magnet attached to their door or something tonight, guys.
What did start all that off in the first lap there, Monty? As they go side by side, but it does look like Hull have made that stick and put themselves into 8th position. Next on the target list is Aberdeen as Hertfordshire's 18 move through on Vigo through the trying to go on the inside, trying to get the switch back. Not going to happen, I don't think. They might well do down through here though, because we know the McLaren's got the straight line speed side by side with Vigo. Vigo got the inside line and the better cornering capability in the BMW, but Hull A are not quite close enough to make that move stick, and Vigo managed to cling on for dear life to 9th position, and they shoot away there as Hull A broke earlier than Hull A, Hertfordshire A. Why do I keep doing this every time? Hertfordshire A breaking earlier than Vigo, and that puts
De Montfort's in. De Montfort's in the pits. The first of the big lot.
Just quickly, Monty, what on earth happened in lap 1?
I mean, to be honest, we need to go and look at the full replay afterwards, but it does look like that Hull was side by side with someone at the front. They bounced doors, and Hull went flying off the track and caught lots of cars with them. And this is just on the visual gauge. It looks like, yeah, 2 cars side by side, Hull being one of them. We saw them get speared off. That's kind of what triggered the whole thing off, and I think everyone just retaliated in panic. Because there was just a cloud of spray in front of them as well, so they didn't really know where to go. So it really was luck of the draw at that point.
It was dark, it was wet, and that's all the excuse you need. De Montfort in the pits, waiting for a tyre swap. The rain reducing dramatically.
Oh dear, Glasgow.
I was going to say into the back of them come Glasgow, and then reverse back a bit. Yeah, you did kind of overshoot there, guys. I've got to say, I would definitely be thinking about the slicks now, and De Montfort coming out of the pits. What tyres have they chosen as the dawn approaches here at Margello with the GT4s? It's race 2 of round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. And De Montfort
Has it stopped raining?
On dry tyres. They are on dry tyres, are De Montfort, as are Queen's University Belfast. Queen's University Belfast are staying on the wet. De Montfort on the dries now. Is this going to pay off for them? As you were saying, Jess, they're one of the front runners. Maybe going just a little bit later than Bolton did is going to pay off for them.
We'll have to wait and see. It's hard to tell if it stopped raining or not, but you can hardly see any drops there.
Well, I mean,
there's no drops on the circuit. I would take the gamble.
Yep, windscreen wipers aren't working at all, so I think it's safe to say it's dry. This really is luck of the draw, because Belfast, a lap earlier, it was still raining. They've committed to their wets. They held on a lap later. That may have given them the confidence to go into the slicks. Was that the right decision?
What a shame for them.
We're going to find out now over the next 30 minutes if there's going to be any more rain or not, but we can already see they're starting to struggle.
Teams 2 to team 6 in the running order at the moment, all in the pits. Absolutely gutting for Queen's University Belfast, who made a stonking drive, and they may have pitted a lap too early and selected the wrong tyre as a result of that, as we've been saying. University College Dublin, though, sticking well in the lead. They are 41 seconds ahead of the team in second. Queen Mary Formula Student, Hull A, according to our timing board, are up in third. But a lot of these teams are in the pits, so that might be about to change.
Yep, I'm intrigued by this, why Dublin stayed out an extra lap, because it looks like the wets aren't
working. They still got their wipers on.
Yep, they still got their wipers on. They're still on the wets. I'm now wondering if by staying out an extra lap, if they don't come in the end of this lap, they're crazy. But staying out an extra lap, I'll be intrigued to see, because they were, what, 4 seconds ahead? Will that have made the difference with those on the slicks, on their outlap, versus them on the wets just now? Are they going to undercut them?
This could be good. This could be proper good. Second place team are University of Leicester, who come back onto the track on the dries. De Montfort ahead of them, according to the timing board. You're on board with University College Dublin, as indeed they do go into the pits. The question is the undercut afoot, or have they come in too late? It's all about to come down to this. De Montfort are now apparently in second.
The undercuts work perfectly for De Montfort, because look, they've jumped to Leicester, Southampton and Hertfordshire B, so that's worked beautifully for them. They've timed the slicks to perfection. They could come out in front of Dublin here, depending on what the average pit stop times are, because it's taking these guys at least 90 seconds to come in and out of the pits. They're very, very slow pit stops, I've noted.
They really are, and could De Montfort be about to pull a blinder? It could well be possible. Just under half an hour of racing to go here at a virtual Margello. We're live for the second race tonight for round 6 of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. There are one of your championship protagonists, Southampton, down in 4th. I'll be rather pleased with that result as opposed to some of the others. Queen's University Belfast still in the pits, have been for a fair while now, beginning to wonder when they're going to get going. There they go, they're away now. I'm not entirely sure.
Where's De Montfort? Where's De Montfort?
They had to make a second pit stop, those guys.
Yeah, they did. I was about to say that. Here's the team that were in first. They waited. De Montfort coming through. Who's going to come out in the lead? University College Dublin or De Montfort? Queen's University Belfast pitted too early, put on wets, and then the track dried out. They've lost a lot of time, and I do begin to wonder whether they're going to make it up. University College Dublin coming out with an empty track. The undercut hasn't worked quite as well as they'd hoped for De Montfort, and De Montfort are going to down in second as University College Dublin maintain their dominance of this race after that first lap drama, and they pull away on the slicks with a gap a number of seconds. They're on the slicks. They're in first. They just need to hold on to it now for 28 minutes because there's a gap of 20 seconds between them and De Montfort. I mean, you could park a bus in that.
Do you know why the gap was that much? Well, it's because that De Montfort was still running when the track was still a bit damp, but it was raining, whereas College Dublin was on the right tyre at the right time. If College Dublin would have pitted it up earlier, then the gap would have been even more. But it doesn't matter for College Dublin, they're still in the lead.
University College Dublin looking on track for a potential race win here. The gap between them and De Montfort is down to 19.7 seconds. It's not a substantial drop. Southampton, they've clawed their way up into fourth now, with University of Leicester separating them from the podium with a 4-second gap to close.
May I just add in an observation, Giles? I've just noticed something. Remember how last year Southampton made unnecessary gambles at the end of the season and arguably cost them the championship?
They made gambles so far this race, and it's worked well for them.
Yeah, but look what tyre they're on just now.
Oh no, they're on the wet tyres.
Interesting. Maybe they went a little bit too conservative following last year, and that's backfired again. Because here comes University of Hertfordshire's B team. They're on the slick. Southampton are on the wets. They're going to struggle here to defend against the orange of Hertfordshire's B team, closing in on them round this sweeping right-hander. They've just about got a couple of cars lengths between them at the moment, but that's not going to last. And are Southampton going to have to make another pit stop? That will not do any favours for their standing in the running order, but if they've got issues like this trying to defend against drivers on better tyres, they might end up down in that position anyway. Flashing their lights now are Hertfordshire's B team. They know they're quicker on the dries compared to Southampton on the wets, closing the gap down on the start-finish straight. Who's got the heavier right foot? Who's going to brake earlier? And that's Southampton pulling out slightly wide, maintaining the slipstream. Are Hertfordshire's B team on Southampton? Trying to go around the outside, potentially get the switchback on the hairpin. That is turn one. Their lights are blinding the back end of Southampton. Now they get very close indeed. Do Hertfordshire's B team. Southampton clinging on for dear life, trying to defend against a car with a better tyre setup for the current track conditions, as they're weaving about, trying to break the toe. Just managing to defend here, but that's not going to last for 25 minutes. Hertfordshire B team just need to hold off a little bit. They're flashing again. They're getting impatient. And patience is all they need here. Southampton cannot keep this up for 25 minutes on wet tyres on a dry circuit. It's just not going to happen. Hertfordshire on the dry tyre. They know they can do this. They're getting impatient, flashing their lights. Let me pass. I can go faster than you. Southampton, in fairness, don't have to give out the position, and they're not going to. They're going to make Hertfordshire work for it, and Hertfordshire might well make a mistake if they get too impatient. They just need to wait. Hertfordshire's B team on track for their best result of the season so far. As a result of that first lap carnage, they just need to hold off and wait for the right moment. That right moment surely is going to come with Southampton on the wrong tyre. They made a gamble yet again, and through goes Hertfordshire's B team, surely side by side with the team from Southampton. Southampton are a nose ahead and managed to keep hold of that fourth position, but Hertfordshire's B team really letting Southampton know their days in fourth are surely numbered. Here's the view from Queen Mary, watching this from afar. Down the inside again, go Hertfordshire's B team on Southampton. They are side by side. Down into the straight now, foot to the floor on the start-finish straight, and that looks to me to be Hertfordshire's B team wondering about trying to get the switch back into turn one. Southampton are just about ahead. Here's the view from Queen Mary behind them, and that is Southampton with the racing line into turn one. Hertfordshire's B team forced out wide. Can they get the switch back through turn one? It doesn't look like it here. They've got to go wide to avoid a collision, but they could dive down the inside of turn two. No, they don't. And Southampton are defending so well, but Queen Mary have caught up now, and Queen Mary are going to be thinking, hang on a minute, what on earth's going on here? And that's forced them off. You know that Hertfordshire's B team have been forced wide by the defence of Southampton, and that allowed Queen Mary to go through. Queen Mary even more aggressive than Hertfordshire's B team. They won the race earlier. They started out in pole. There was a load of drama. They lost out on that position, and they're going to now close the gap. There's a train developing here behind Southampton, who are on the wrong tyre. And Queen Mary surely will lead the charge through on Southampton and bringing Hertfordshire's B team with them if Hertfordshire knows what's good to get in the slipstream behind Queen Mary. They're not close enough, and they're going wide. They are so determined to get through that Hertfordshire potentially making unforced mistakes in anger at being held up by Southampton. And it looks to me to be Queen Mary having the exact same experience, stuck behind Southampton. They go to the outside. They try and go side by side with the team. They are getting forced right on the edge of the racing line. They're 3 abreast here, and that's Southampton punted back down into 6th. Hertfordshire's B team collide with them. They collide, and that's Aberdeen.
They collide with
as well.
Scottish.
An absolute disaster for Hertfordshire's B team, who are on track for their best result of the season so far, and they just lost out, colliding at the last minute with Southampton after Queen Mary forced their way through. They could have held on to that, and Aberdeen are now closing in on Southampton. Southampton making somewhat of a nuisance of themselves, having picked the wrong tyre, and racing. Their racing etiquette is such that they aren't willing to give the position. Their defence is impeccable, but it's making life harder for the teams on better tyres.
Oh, I mean, there's no discussion to be had on that. This is all for position. Fair play to Southampton for very fair defending. And I have to say, from Hertfordshire's point of view, that was frustration coming through there. Who was it who said patience earlier? That's exactly what it was. They needed patience. Wait for the opportunity. They didn't have the patience. They got far too ragged. That allowed Queen Mary through, and then they tried to overcompensate and then taking themselves out. They would be kicking themselves for that, and I hope that they learn from that one, because the pace is there, but you need the patience, and Southampton are driving a smarter race at the moment, even if they're on the wrong tyres.
Very well defended from Southampton. Aberdeen on the approach now. They're going to have the same problem. Southampton are almost a brick wall to get past. Have you had experience of this, Jess, trying to get past a slower car that's very good at defending?
Yes, I mean, you get very frustrated at the time, but at the end of the race, you got to say to them fair play, because like there's some tracks like here in Magellan which you can't overtake. Aberdeen had to get the move done straight away, and he did, and it didn't take that long. This is patience in spades. That was brilliant from a Scottish. This is what you do. Waited for the perfect opportunity. He waited for the perfect opportunity, and he's got past Southampton and trying to chase down Queen Mary. So Queen Mary and Aberdeen, the beneficiaries in that situation.
Look at this though on the timing board. That's 6 seconds that Hertfordshire's B team have lost as a result of that. They, as Monty said, they will be kicking themselves. Meanwhile, the team that won't be kicking themselves, they'll be jumping for joy. It's University College Dublin, 23 seconds ahead of the second place car. A monumental gap. An absolutely dominant drive from a team that potentially weren't expecting to be running in the front of the pack, but with 20 minutes to go, sunlight now raining down all across the track, drying it out, improving the conditions by the second. All University College have to do is keep in the track, keep on the tarmac, and just keep going.
Hey Giles, Jess, commentator's curse for you. Guess who's never won a Formula Student race before? Never mind round, race before.
Is it UCD?
Guess which teams have never had a podium before?
Is it UCD, De Montfort and UOL?
2 out of 3.
De Montfort and UOL.
Wouldn't this be a nice podium and win to see if my commentator's curse doesn't hit again?
And I've got a good point actually. Leicester, we only mainly see them in the second server if there's 2 servers. So pointing the top server for a podium is huge.
Yes, fully capitalising on this opportunity. And who was that spinning off the oh, it was Cardiff.
That's Cardiff B team, Chambers.
Oh no! That was silly.
That's gonna hurt.
That's big oof.
That was right
That's
into Vigo. That was Vigo, who's a lap ahead of them. Yep, nope, be taking a dim view to that one as well.
Oopsie daisy. I will not say anything.
I'm now beginning to speak a bit like James Hunt. I think I'm going to come on mute for a few minutes. Over to you guys.
I'm reliably informed that Strathclyde is in Glasgow. There we go.
You didn't know that?
You did not? What?
How many times have you heard me talk about the old firm every time I talk about Strathclyde and Glasgow having battles?
Yeah, that rivalry. Right, at the start of the season, Giles thought that Ireland drove on the right. Now Giles thought that Strathclyde wasn't in Glasgow.
Drive on the right-hand side of the road. I love how we're back to this. Meanwhile, through Go Vigo on Southampton. Southampton uncharacteristically undefensive compared to their previous showing, and they are one of the last teams on the wets, but clearly not putting up a fight against Vigo, shockingly.
Nope, they're not, and I think they're gonna potentially try and go. They're gonna go for it, even though they're on the wets. This is sensational driving from Southampton.
Their racecraft is impeccable, I must say. Whether they're
imagine their pace in the dry.
It's just a shame that their tyre strategy doesn't quite match up to their racecraft, because their driving is fantastic. The tyre strategy leaves something to be desired. As Southampton try and reel back in Vigo in the BMW, thanks to the high speeds that the McLaren is capable of on the straights, but just not quite managing to bring them back in. Queen Mary, Formula Student, having started out in pole, have recovered to fourth, a fantastic recovery for the team from London, with Toto behind the wheel for them. The question is, can they get back onto the podium? The gap, 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds between them and University of Leicester, the other team running in orange, 17 minutes to go. Keep an eye on that one. That is going to come to something. The question is what? Who is going to hold on to that final podium position? Time will tell. It tends to have a way of doing so.
If we're going to look at this from a championship point of view, guys, I'm just thinking about this. So we were discussing before how Queen Mary, how impressive it is that they're leading the championship tied with Southampton, even though they've not won a race so far this year. Oh, season, I should say. And thinking about it, this is the third time this season I've seen Queen Mary do a fantastic recovery drive from the back, because they had this happen in Sydney, and I think also in Charlotte Roval. However, this consistency is going to bite them back really harshly next round.
With the drop round.
Exactly. So Queen Mary needs to win this one to try and really maximise their points. Because at the moment, their season has been about 2nd to 5th positions, which is fantastic and consistent, but that means that they're going to lose a huge wad of points. They need that win, so it kind of devalues one of their worst results, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, and it just means that what we're about to see is going to be even more dramatic and of even more interest. Talking of interesting, we've got a pit lane report here from Southampton. GP Alessio says Southampton University Formula Student Team / we, so he's there, have made a mistake with the selected pit strategy. Clicked the wrong button. So
I
we
knew
ended
it.
up with wets when we wanted dries.
I knew it. I knew that they pressed the wrong button.
It seemed characteristic of Southampton making errors when the pressure is on towards the end of the championship, and I do feel for them.
It's so easy to do them on this game.
Yeah.
I know in the F1 game before, I was on full wets and I wanted to go on Inters, and I accidentally either forgot to select the strategy or press the wrong tire, and it put me on the wrong tire. They're gonna kick themselves for that. But
They may kick themselves for it. They also have a bit of less pressure though, because they've had wins so far this season, so they can use this one as their drop round. Their situation
exactly.
is the opposite,
So it's not going to come back to bite them. No,
as
I
hard.
think they're
As hard. It won't come back as hard.
Meanwhile, just worth noting, we're back into ideal driving conditions, and look who's back on the charge.
Dylan
Warren filling up the rear end of Hull 18 now. Lights blazing in their rear view mirror, so clearly wanting to come past. Hull A pulling out and allowing Hull York A to go through. No word of a defence from Hull A, just York A passing straight on by. A little bit disappointed in that, I can't lie, but then again, that's just personal preference. Queen Mary, as I was expecting, are now back up 3 minutes later, duking it out with University of Leicester. Orange versus orange, McLaren versus McLaren, down the start-finish line, foot to the floor. We know these cars are quick in the straight line. The question is who is going to get into turn one quickest. Of course, De Montfort are ahead now, and that looks to me to be De Montfort, Queen Mary, through on University of Leicester. Queen Mary have got up into the podium positions now, and they continue their hunt for first place with 14 minutes to go. Aberdeen enjoying a rather excellent drive this evening, because look at that for Aberdeen. They are there in 5th place, having started well at the back, and they're closing down on University of Leicester.
The gambles that did not pay off for Southampton. There's gambles that paid off for Aberdeen, especially in race 2 with the Chevrolets in the wets, in the way that he was able just to climb up. So I always like a driver or a team that goes for an option which not many people go for, and it pays off for them. I think Aberdeen's got to look at this and saying is one of their best recovery drives of the season. As we can see, Hertfordshire B in the gravel. That's going to unsettle the car quite a bit there. But Scottish trying to pull away from Leicester as he now chases down Queen Mary. And they're closing in. This is going to be exciting. The podium battle is not over yet, as we've got Dylan Warren, who's getting past Southampton. Surely this is not going to work, but Southampton's planted their car in the right places. They're not going to give up without a fight in the start-finish straight. We also got Strathclyde fighting with Hertfordshire B in the background. A little bit of contact. Dylan Warren's through.
Dylan Warren is through and up into 7th place on the charge with 12 minutes 50 to go. Clearly, Warren prefers the dry to the wet. The question is, with 12 minutes on the clock, is that enough time to claw their way back up into the big points? Meanwhile, 4 cars duking it out there for 8th position. Southampton getting punted by Strathclyde, and into the gravel trap they go, and that is Southampton down into 11th. Through go Strathclyde, through go Hertfordshire's B team, and through go Hull's A team as well. Hertfordshire's B team now piling on the pressure on Strathclyde. York chasing down Vigo, it looks to me to be there. Although was that UCLM as a back marker potentially slowing them down? Who knows? And through go Hertfordshire's B team on Strathclyde. No problems there for Hertfordshire's B team. No response from Strathclyde. Although potentially they could get a bit close here. Can they get the switch back? No, they can't. They tuck in behind. Excuse me.
Oh, someone's round!
That's UCLM struggling yet again, and they've gone just lost the control of the car and gone into the tile.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame for them, and they were down in 17th anyway. They're going to be way down very soon as well, but at least they're going to still get points for finishing. The gap increasing between College Dublin and De Montfort, 29 seconds between those two. Surely it's going to be one of the biggest margins of the season as well from College Dublin, and don't forget, it's going to be very, very exciting for them. I think everybody's just going to be happy for a podium. De Montfort, you're not expected to be there. Queen Mary, what could have been, but the fact that they're going to get a podium as well, a first and a third, surely that will mean they would take the victory for the round, right, Giles?
They've been the most consistent and in the top end of the points, so I do think that would be the way it would go. Meanwhile, Hertfordshire's B team having trouble. They've got a back end full of Strathclyde and Hull A. Hull A piling on the pressure on Strathclyde, and I do wonder how long Strathclyde can hold on for, because they're being held up by Hertfordshire's B team. We've got a train developing here. The question is, of course, when's it going to break and who's going to come out on top? Trying to keep in on the inside are Hull A, and they go through on Strathclyde. For a second, I wonder whether that was going to be a double move on Hull B team as Hertfordshire's B team as well.
I thought so as well, but no, it seems to be they're a bit more comfortable in the dry.
I'm stunned by that. I really did think Hull had the momentum to get past both of them for a moment there. But
no, but we didn't. No.
Strathclyde holding on to 9th, Hertfordshire B holding on to 8th, but Hull do have designs on the pair of them. With 10 minutes to go, I think Hull might be able to do something here. Just a case, as always, of patience. And meanwhile, 30 seconds between University College Dublin and De Montfort. Is it University College Dublin that made that absolute tank of a car last year? That really impressive car that was their first time through scrutineering after only 2 or 3 years of the team's existence. Was it
I have no idea.
Monty, would you be able to clarify that for me?
Say that one again, sorry, Giles.
University College Dublin, were they the team that manufactured that absolute tank of a car that could survive anything? And
yes.
They were
yes, that is wonderful. The one where they decided to go and race it in Australia.
They went and raced it in Australia, did they?
Well, they ended up on their roof, so close enough.
Well, I thought that was Trinity College Dublin.
Oh, is that 2 different colleges? I'm so sorry. University. My apologies, guys.
There's a question for you. Is University College Dublin and Trinity College Dublin the same university or 2 different universities? If you could let us know in the comments, we'd love to hear from you. Queen Mary, meanwhile, on the hunt for De Montfort. They've got Aberdeen.
I think they're different.
Chasing on the back of them, so they're going to want to get a move on. Our Queen Mary, because Aberdeen are closing that gap. It's not even a second between those two. It's about 0.8 seconds. Meanwhile, you're on board with Vigo. They're on the approach to the University of Leicester. University of Leicester up in 5th. think they'd be quite happy with it if the checkered flag were to go down now, would Leicester, but the Spaniards may have something to say about it as they put their foot to the floor. The McLaren pulling away from them. Meanwhile, here is University of Hertfordshire's B team with Strathclyde well in front of them. The train still here between these three teams. And I've got a funny feeling this is surely going to go the way of Hull if they can just hold off at the back and let these two teams duke it out and slow each other down. Here is Strathclyde coming through on the inside of Hertfordshire's B team, and then breaking late, it is Hull A closing the gap rapidly on the pair of them. University of Strathclyde are through now and pulling away potentially, but the slipstream is there for the taking, and that is Hertfordshire's B team holding on. Vigo have gone through on University of Leicester. It seems somewhat inevitable. Now Aberdeen are next in sight for Vigo. The gap, 4 seconds. It can be achieved within the 8 minutes or so left on the clock, and that is getting a bit squiffy there for the McLaren of Hertfordshire's B team, as behind them come through Hull A, trying to get a look in. Not quite there just yet, but bear in mind that the BMW is better through the corners, especially in the dry. So I would be a bit panicked. Oh, I'd be very panicked indeed if I was Hertfordshire's B team right now, because they got punted at the back and went well sideways. They managed to hold that better than the team that went into the back of them. Hertfordshire's, so not Hertfordshire's B team, Hull A went into the back of them and they ended up in the gravel trap. Well held indeed by Hertfordshire's B team. So well held, the gap's opened up to nearly a second.
Wow, so we could see even different strategies playing up in terms of tyre management. I think the tyres will be crying for mercy in these final 7 minutes of this race, especially that Jay's mentioned earlier on. I know that the conditions were going to get even hotter as well, and it's not going to be as cooler as was what we saw maybe even in the first race. So that is what they got to manage. They got to make sure that those tyres could get to the end of the race as well. So I think we're going to probably see all the teams start to struggle with the final remainder of this race a little bit. College Dublin doesn't seem to be struggling a little bit. Queen Mary has got Aberdeen for company once again.
Well, Trinity and UCD, two very, very different unis. We're reliably informed here on the commentary.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm being told frenemies there. My apologies, guys, for the insults caused.
And I'd also like to apologise to Hugo Ward, who said, "How could you, Giles? Commentator's curse is hit, UOL." Sorry, Leicester.
But that's your commentator's curse of the evening.
It had to happen eventually. Hull A chasing down Hertfordshire's B team and Hertfordshire's A team behind them, trying to get past Southampton yet again. And I must say, Southampton making the decision to stay out on the wrong tyre and doing an admirable job of defending. Hertfordshire's A team try and go round and try and get the switch back perhaps, but not gonna, maybe, I don't know. It's not close enough to make a move there, but it is only a matter of time. They get very, very close indeed. Surely they've got this now. Here comes Hertfordshire's A team down the inside. They touch, and that's Hertfordshire A up ahead of Southampton. And Southampton don't really have anything to do about it but flash their lights in frustration.
Yeah, that is a bit frustrating for them. I mean, with them on the wets, of course, they're going to be quicker than compared to Bolton, but we're seeing the rival that we saw last season just come back to help them once again. It seems Bolton needs to get past them at the moment, and it's just crucial that these guys finish this race as we've got almost 5 minutes left to go of this race. Surely it's going to be an easy move for Bolton.
Could well be. We've got 5 minutes left, and Bolton are definitely having that. They go through on Southampton, and that is Southampton down into 13th. How far down can Southampton fall in the running order with 4 minutes 50 on the clock to go? And you can see just how quick the cars are on the dry tyre here. They are just pulling away like a bat out of hell. The Southampton is just left gasping for breath, bless their hearts. They made the wrong choice on the tyre. It's very difficult in Assetto Corsa to get the right tyre when you're in a rush, when you're pumped full of adrenaline of the race. York A going through on the University of Leicester. I'm sorry, Leicester. Didn't mean to. York A are scrambling back up the running order. They're back into 6th. The rain, clearly not friendly with Dylan Warren. Potentially this car setup. There's something here that hasn't ticked all of the boxes.
It must be a fully dry setup. Oh, no, that's Hull A getting in contact with Hertfordshire B. And they almost got in contact with Hertfordshire A. Oh, God.
It's all happening tonight, Jess, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting confused. It's like they got the same livery. It's hard to tell them apart.
Meanwhile, that is
Apologies.
Bolton being forced off to the side there by Hertfordshire's B team as they battle it out for 11th position.
Banging wheels.
Oh, and that was always going to happen, wasn't it? And that's them gone in a big way. Hertfordshire B well off into the grass, into the gravel. They might need. Oh, they just managed to hold on to the escape road. No, they're back on. They're going to have to get up to speed.
Oh, get
CCLM.
Oh, good awareness there from that car, which I don't know who that is.
Hertfordshire B.
No, that pig car.
Oh, UCLM.
UCLM.
UCLM sailing on through on what could have been a disaster there, but both drivers kept their awareness about them, kept their wits about them, managed to avoid a significant collision. Aberdeen hunting down Queen Mary. Aberdeen, the shock of all shocks tonight. I was not expecting a Chevrolet to be in this position.
And he was near the back as well. He was a one-driver entry.
Congratulations to McScottish. Whether or not we get to interview him in the box, well driven by McScottish, diving to the inside, but not quite close enough to make that move on Queen Mary, but certainly enough to make them pay attention to their rear mirrors. Here comes Hull A, meanwhile, under pressure from Bolton down the start-finish straight. Ahead of them, Hertfordshire's B team pulling away. Bolton diving to the outside, and that's Hull A relegated down into 11th. Bolton charging on by on the start-finish straight, as one would expect with a McLaren against a BMW on that start-finish straight. Thanks ever so much to Salvatore for the additional intel on the car setup and the car's performance in different aspects. Go DMU, good tyre strategy on the undercut, says Pro McSlide.
Yes.
University of Leicester, meanwhile, just says pain. So, not exactly going particularly well for the University of Leicester compared to what they might have been hoping for initially, given the results of that dramatic first lap collision that put the cat amongst the pigeons in the running order. Queen Mary still under pressure from Aberdeen now, 1 minute 40 to go. Queen Mary will be well aware of the black Chevy chasing them down, and whether or not American cars can corner, they can certainly go in a straight line. And University College Dublin, no such worries for them, 36 seconds ahead of the Montfort. Queen Mary 6 seconds behind the Montfort. So Queen Mary definitely having to contend with Aberdeen as opposed to thinking about potentially making a move up to second place. Queen Mary will have to potentially settle for third in this race. That would still mean, as Jess and I have done some approximate mental maths here in the commentary box, they would win the round. So all they have to do for the next minute, this will be the last lap. They're on to the last lap, and this is the final podium position up for grabs here. Aberdeen, McScottish behind the wheel of the Chevrolet, Queen Mary with Toto behind the wheel for McLaren. The question is, who is going to get that final top spot? Closing up very nicely are Aberdeen there, flying through the pits on the last lap. It's an interesting choice from Strathclyde, I must say, especially in 8th position. What have you done there, guys? There's only one more lap left. I think
what are you doing?
There. They have really made a mistake there because they've gone in, stopped for a couple of seconds, and they pulled back out again.
That looks like a splash and dash to me. That's definitely a splash and dash going on there.
Someone miscalculated the fuel up in Scotland. Meanwhile, University College Dublin are about to finish their final lap. They've driven an absolutely impeccable race. They are not Trinity College Dublin. They are two very different universities. We apologise for any confusion. But what isn't confusing is how utterly dominant University College Dublin have been. With 28 laps completed, they're on their 29th now. The clock has run out. The track has dried out. We're in the sunshine yet again here in Italy. And for the final time, through the final corners, come University College Dublin to take victory for the first time in the Formula Student Sim Racing Series, weaving in victory. There's the checkered flag. Meanwhile, Aberdeen has gone through on Queen Mary. They are side by side, and Queen Mary go back through in the corners, holding off the Chevrolet. They keep onto the racing line, forcing Aberdeen wide. They are going to be screaming at the wheel. There's only a couple of corners to go. This is going to be all the difference as York go through on Vigo to take 5th in the last throws of the race. Here comes the Montfort through the final corner. The checkered flag beckons for them. No dramas. Just got to keep it on the track. The Montfort will be all right. Vigo challenging York in the last moments, trying to get on the inside, and they go onto the grass. And De Montfort go through with a rather interesting horn. Queen Mary, yes, they just about managed to hold on to it. A stonking drive from McScottish, having to settle for 4th, and across the line, under pressure from Vigo, goes York in 5th, Vigo in 6th. and University of Leicester, I'll have to settle for 7th. A last-minute moment for Bolton. They go through on Hertfordshire's A team, and that puts Bolton up into 8th. That's Hertfordshire's A team down into 9th, with Hull A team crossing the line in 10th position, rounding out your top 10. And breathe. Glasgow's last-minute move on Hertfordshire's B team. It's all happening.
Well, if you want lottery numbers for the next lottery, then please ask me, because I got that prediction spot on there.
Fair play, Jess. Well called.
Absolutely. Yep. No. Very well called. I thought the first race was chaotic, and I couldn't keep up with it. That was just something else. That one. That was just something else indeed. Why is my light not on?
I don't know, Monty. Why is your nightlight not on?
There we go. Now it's... There we are. Good grief, guys. The unpredictable season has carried on again.
Yes.
And we've got unusual people on the podium. That went fantastic. I think that was so unpredictable, those 2-hour races. That was so much fun. And if that's anything to go by, I can't wait for Williams now.
I'm so
excited. It's all up in the air.
Powell Zelensky says commentators curse doesn't work on UCD, I think, winky face. Yarzan Solon calls it tragic, with a rather interesting spelling of tragic. Rosie Biven says, yes, University College Dublin. Pro Snipe says, go on, Danny, 1% tire life left, super close. GTV Archangel saying, Toti! P16 to podium, baby, says Daniel Sloan. Connor French says, let's go, Darren, you goat. Cam Wong saying, good stuff, Toto. And GTV Angel finally saying, return of the Queen Mary Formula Student, part 17. I don't remember that being in Return of the Mac, but there we are. Anyway, that is just an absolutely impeccable bit of racing throughout. We're exhausted as ever. And hopefully we'll be able to get you the winning driver, University of College Dublin's driver, who won that one for you in just a moment. If you're from College Dublin and you were driving there, then just stick around and try and get in. Monty's trying to get in touch with you. Yazan Salon says, I got flamed for a typo. Big up Queen Mary Formula student. Selene Shiny says, no audio for an hour is painful. That's going to be a bit difficult to drive. Meanwhile, Salvatore saying, let's go. And Jojo Scott, love Jojo. She says, fantastic McScottish. That was excellent. And if you want more excellence, then stick around here on Formula Students YouTube channel, because we'll be going to Williams in a couple of months for the final of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. And here's what the drivers have to look forward to. Roll VT.
Hey guys, welcome to the Williams Experience Centre, where we're going to be hosting the final round of this season's Formula Student Sim Racing Series in their eSports Centre. I'm joined with Michael Preston, the eSports Chief Engineer for Williams eSports, who's going to be showing us around the facilities. Shall we go?
Yep,
let's go.
So welcome to Grove, home of the Williams eSports Lounge. So here we have some of the simulators that the students are going to get to use for the final round of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series. We have the Williams eSports Edition Playseat Formula. We have a Fanatec Direct Drive steering wheel base and a Formula V2.5 rim. We also have load cell pedals and a 32-inch curved monitor. As you can see, there's 10 rigs here. We also have 10 rigs in the back room as well, so we can have up to 20 people racing in the same race at any given time. In the background, we also have our pro level sim rigs. So these are the sim rigs that our Williams eSports Pro drivers would use if they're preparing for events or if they're taking part in events. So this year we've used those for taking part in the Le Mans 24-hour Le Mans Virtual Series. We've used iterations of those rigs for F1 eSports as well. And we also have a F1 style pit wall, which we use to provide a professional engineering capacity, which I will show you now. So here we have our F1 style pit wall. The first thing you'll notice is the abundance of screens that we have. It seems excessive, but as soon as you start adding onboard telemetry, timing, the screens quickly fill up, especially if you want to be watching the race as well. Like we have a replay from the Le Mans Virtual Series race here. This has capacity for 4 engineers to be working during the races. We also use this for running events in the eSports Lounge as well. So if we're running LAN events or corporate events, then this is somewhere that we can run those events from if we're running session lobbies or doing admin for that kind of stuff as well. On the screen we have Motec open at the moment, so that's a tool that we use to analyse telemetry. So this is something that most of the students in the Formula Student Sim Racing series will have become accustomed to using throughout this year, because Motec natively has the ability to analyse data coming out of Assetto Corsa, the simulator. So that's where there's one real area of crossover between sim racing and real life, is that this is a tool that's used in professional level motorsport, and the students can be using it, getting data from their sim rig at home and learning everything that they'd ever need to do using this software at a racetrack. So here's one of our pro level rigs that our Williams eSports pro drivers would use. As you can tell, there's a bit of a step up in hardware between these and the corporate level simulators that we have over in the rest of the eSports Lounge, and the main differences from this are coming from much heavier braking pedals, the higher forces coming from the direct drive wheelbase, 3 screens, so that you can use your peripheral vision a lot more to see the cars around you. Also, the much stiffer chassis for the rig itself. That's necessary to cope with all of the forces coming out of the steering wheel base and going through the braking pedal. So the Husingvel Ultimate pedals that we have on this rig are capable of going up to 120 kilos of braking force. So that's capable of matching any or the majority of real racing cars. So
a lot of force.
yeah, these are a really good tool for professional drivers as well, testing for real-world racing, as well as our drivers in their professional sim racing capacity.
This looks impressive. Dare I ask the cost?
Yeah, so the rig in its totality with the one PC included will put you back about just over 10,000 Great British pounds.
Worth every penny, I'm sure.
Yep, especially when you're looking for those marginal gains.
Absolutely. No, definitely. If it gives you an authentic experience of what you'd feel in the car on the real track, then no, definitely it's there with a purpose.
Well, that's what you can look forward to in a couple months' time in July, the same week of Formula Student, ahead of the main competition at Silverstone. We'll be going to Williams eSports, who are our title sponsor. Thank you ever so much to them. And we'll be making full use of their eSports Lounge for the grand final of the Formula Student Sim Racing Series 2024-2025. And we are joined by our Race 2 Round 6 winner, Darren. That was unbelievably dominant. How did that feel behind the wheel for you?
Incredibly surreal, I have to say. Especially towards the end, like my teammate Pavel and acting as my race engineer was like, "You're gapping a second a lap fast," and I'm like, "How?" I'm like, I'm quick, but I'm not that quick. I'm not like extremely quick, like compared to some of these guys.
Clearly, you are. What's the secret?
I think it was the wet drive. That was probably like the drive of my life, I think. I kind of sent it into turn 1 and around the outside, and I had a bit of a battle with Queen Mary for a bit, but then I started pulling away. So, and after that, the heart rate went down, and I got into a bit of a zone. So,
would you be able to provide any insight into what happened in the first lap? Because you qualified in 3rd, if I'm right in saying, and then all of a sudden you were up into 1st. There was a significant collision on the first lap, and we've been trying to pinpoint exactly what happened. You were in.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea?
I just caught that in my peripheral vision when I was going past. I think it was second hit. I don't know who, but I think second had a hit with someone and went onto the grass or into the wall or something like that. And I kind of zoomed through, and then there was, I think, Queen Mary on the inside, and I think in the rain, the outer line actually helped me get more grip. The inner line had a bit of standing water on it, and that allowed me to go around the outside. I just felt like I had a lot more grip.
In a moment like that, when everyone else around you is losing their heads, how are you managing to stay focused and just drive through what a number of other teams suffered through collisions?
It definitely helps a lot starting at the front. Like avoiding that mid pack chaos is like the key, I think. But also, like I try, I am a bundle of nerves. I was a bundle of nerves at the start of the race, and I still was up until like the dry part of the race. But I was just kind of focusing on like lap after lap, keeping my lines, not over pushing the car, especially in the rain. Just hitting my markers and trying not to. I'm terrible for this, but I'm always looking in my mirror, but I'm trying not to look in my mirror for the guy behind. So
it's easily done. It's easily done. This was the first win for UCD in the whole series ever. Am I right in that?
That's right.
Massive congratulations. And UCD have been putting in appearances towards the top end over the last few rounds. Will we get to meet you in person at Williams eSports?
Yeah, I really hope so. Like, I'm trying to convince my teammates to go, and like I really want to go, but like we're in Ireland, and like there's a bit of there's a few logistical issues, to do with accommodation and flights, and also I'm working. I'm an alumni, so like I work full time, so I have to take holidays and everything.
We'll all cross everything to have you
Please.
with us at Williams. It would be genuinely wonderful. Congratulations on the result. Will we be seeing anybody from University College Dublin at Silverstone this year?
Oh yeah, the whole team is going. Like, we've made some great progress this year. Like we're as close as we've ever gotten to having something that could pass scrutineering. Like, mechanically, It's pretty sound, and the battery has gotten approval to be built. And I think we're only like a week or two from starting the build of it. So,
what's the timeline for the build? How long are you expecting it to take?
I'd say like it's our first time getting this far, so we would love to have a bit of testing time, but we could be going into like June before we have something rolling under its own power.
You wouldn't be the first team to turn up to Silverstone, get through scrutineering, and the first time that the car has driven under its own power is skid pad or acceleration at the actual event. So don't fret about that. If you can get something that gets through scrutineering, you put your foot down on the accelerator and it goes forward, that's enough. Fingers crossed that you guys get there. It'd be great to have some Irish representation at the event this year, because we know Trinity College Dublin are taking a fallow year as a concept class this year. I'm reliably informed. We are also reliably informed and would like to clarify, Trinity College Dublin, University College Dublin, not the same university. Please don't lynch us.
Sorry, guys.
Darren, genuinely, I can see just from the grin on your face how much that means to you, and you've driven your socks off, and you deserve all the praise. Massive congratulations. That wasn't just a good drive, that was a dominant drive. It was impeccable. Really well done. Best of luck with the rest of the series. Fingers crossed we'll get to see you in person in July. Send our love to the team, and hopefully they do get the accumulator built and put into the back end of the car, and hopefully you get through scrutineering, and best of luck with everything going forward.
Thanks a lot, guys. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure talking
Thank
to you.
Thank you.
Too,
all right, cheers.
What a lovely man.
I am so happy for Dublin. I'm so happy because they've been really giving this a fair whack now for 3 seasons. They've come close on so many occasions, and they've finally got that illustrious win now in a race. I'm so happy for them.
The results tonight have been the sort of results that we've kind of wanted to see but weren't expecting to. We've got a team that's won for the first time ever. We've got a team that needed the win, but it doesn't mean that they're going to win overall. It doesn't mean that they've completely won it outright. It just puts them in a better position. The competition's still tight at the front. Yeah. We've had the best results we could possibly have just by happenstance, and I'm really over the moon with that.
Yep, no, that really was the best way for an endurance race. I thought, I was secretly worried an hour of racing was going to be a bit boring, but I'm hoping the audience found this as entertaining as we did, because that was just flat out for both races, wasn't it, guys?
It was.
Yeah, it was.
Really was. And we've got results now, and we've also got what have we got first? The race results or the engineering challenges?
So we'll do the race results. Let's find out who our winner of tonight's round is. I've also got the results for the last engineering challenge as well. Yeah, this is looking interesting. So you guys are reckoning who our winner is tonight is?
Queen Mary, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. We're going for it being a Queen Mary. Right. Okay. Let's swap over. Let's get the
Oh,
things.
drum roll, please.
Right. Virtual drum roll. Congratulations,
There we
Queen
go.
Mary
Oh!
University of London.
Point.
By a single point, Queen Mary University of London get their first ever Formula Student victory, like overall round victory. But look at that, by a single point, it could have been College Dublin who could have done that as well. Because this is the thing we've overlooked, guys. College Dublin, for them to start third in the second race, where did they finish in the first race?
Third.
So they've both had a
I
first
forgot
and they've both had
about that.
a third. So this is fastest lap and highest climber. Well, maybe not highest climber in their case, but like the fastest laps. This is what's
The
making
fastest
the
lap did
difference
it.
now.
It would have been on countback if it was the fastest lap.
Yep, I cannot believe this. A single point was in it. How about that? How
I
about
forgot that. I'm glad I forgot that, because otherwise it would have been not much of a surprise.
I know, right? But what a
we are-
topsy. Sorry, Giles.
All I was just going to say is that we should make this endurance event an annual thing.
I think so. But I mean, look at this for a top 10. Hull, well done on yet another podium. Bolton were only 4 points off in the end. What could have been for them had they not gone on the slicks too early? Because
Leicester P5.
Leicester in 5th. York, after everything, still came 6th. Aberdeen in 7th. De Montfort in 8th. Southampton tied on 60 points with Hertfordshire 18. So I reckon this is going to be Southampton's drop round. But
I think so.
That was just something else. But we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
No, we're not. So that's this round. But
That
to
was
throw
this
the cat
round.
amongst the pigeons and to throw the engineer into the engineering challenges, let's have a look at what the results were for the engineering challenge, because I believe you hinted at to me when we caught up last weekend, Monty, that it might be a bit of a different story to what we're usually expecting in these.
Again.
A very different story. So we've known these to be the things which Glasgow dominate in. Strathclyde won one 2 rounds ago. Glasgow took it
did?
back. Glasgow took it back last challenge, so got the 50 points. The 50 points this time go to
Leicester!
Yay!
Oh, what a result for them. Excellent.
Oh, that's
stuff.
fantastic. But Glasgow's still in second.
Absolutely. Glasgow still in second. Strathclyde yet again with another strong engineering challenge. They're in third. Queen Mary, crucially, only 9th. Now, remember,
Wow. Where did Southampton finish again?
They were 5th.
Fifth.
They were
Okay,
5th,
okay.
And this makes all the difference to the championship points, because remember, these do not count towards your drop scores. These do not count towards your drop scores, the engineering challenge.
Let's have a look at it.
That's 250 points up for grabs. So once you combine the two together, this is what the championship standings are looking like heading into Williams.
Oh!
Queen Mary University
Wow.
London have now got a gap. They have opened up a gap from Southampton, but crucially, they have much more points to drop compared to Southampton, College Dublin, Glasgow, and York. They've all had horror rounds so far this year. Queen Mary, they've been outrageously consistent, but this does mean they're going to have to lose more points in the next final round. So realistically, we have 5 teams going into the final with a chance of winning this championship.
I'm going
That's more than last year.
And I'm going to just wonder about something here, and I'm hypothesizing out loud. So Monty, and Jess, correct me if I'm completely way off here. Would it be possible mathematically for Queen Mary University to look at how many points they need to drop in the final round, and then to tell their drivers to limit their performance, but match up enough that they can still maintain that lead, but drop enough that they're not losing a ridiculous amount of points? But then again, the trouble with that is trying to gauge how many they need to drop while still remaining competitive. If College Dublin or Southampton come through with an absolute stonker, already knowing that they've got their banker drop round.
It's mad, isn't it?
I might well have overthought that just a bit.
No, you have basically opened up what my conversation is going to be like once we get to Williams, to kind of break this down to everyone and just explain how each of these teams can win the championships, because it's much closer than the points give credit to.
What is it with engineering always coming down to spreadsheets? Monty's going to spend the next 2 months making spreadsheets of different scenarios and how they'll pan out.
Hey, I like spreadsheets. That's what my whole thesis was based on, spreadsheets. But what about that, guys? That's how we're heading into Williams in a couple of months'
Amazing.
time. We
That was just
potentially
impeccable.
have a new champion.
This
is
wow.
so close. I am... Oh, we've never had 5 teams coming into the final rounds with a chance of winning this before. This
Could July
topsy-turvy
happen
season
already?
just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. And yeah, I really wish it could be already. But do you know what? I'm quite happy having a little bit of a rest because this has been just so flat out the last 6 months. We need to
It really
regroup
has.
and come back and have a spectacular finale at Williams.
Plenty of comments coming in on the stream to round us up. Dylan Warren saying 64 ? Yes, 64. Meanwhile, plenty of love for Leicester. J-Man 2005. UOL. Ronk saying let's go. And the University of Leicester's official channel coming in with what? OMG. OMG. Wow. Let's go. Katie says fingers crossed UCD get the car up and running. They'll have incredible drivers to boot. Good game UOL. Lots of love, says Daniel Letard. John Braithwaite saying chef's kiss. What's a beauty. University of Leicester Racing saying scenes. Daniel Letard saying good consistent performance this round. Amelia simply saying let's go UOL. Pro McSnipe saying I had a howler. Apparently the CSP version being newer puts you at a disadvantage. Warren had the same issue. Hugo Ward saying I cannot believe it. LTS sub team go crazy. No York B team no longer top B, says Robert Brown. Kalane Shaney saying any esports teams want to help out Caledonian, and Scottish saying they're coming for them. So there's some Scottish love going on the chat. Big up the Scots. I'll be there in a couple of weeks. Might see if I can see anybody. Fantastic round. Really, really great stuff. This endurance event will become an annual thing for the sim racing. Thank you so much for joining us. Do make sure you tune in for the whole day's coverage. We'll be broadcasting live all day from Williams come July. The date to be confirmed very, very shortly. So stay there. And for now, we're going to say goodbye because there's food to be eaten and there's water to be drunk. I've been Giles, she's been Jess, he's been Monty. And for now, it's goodbye.
Bye.